Hello, and welcome back to Zenin Fanfics. Today we're starting an exciting new series. What if Deku became Butterfly Miraculous? If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe for more content. The story we're featuring is written by funnysafannow on fanfiction.net. You can find all the relevant links in the description, so be sure to check out the author's profile and say hello. Now let's dive into the story. After his little talk with All Might, Izuku had gone to the beach to clear his thoughts from the subject of just giving up. Something he didn't even want to consider. That's why he was on the beach at that moment, totally alone. Well, except for the old dude who was currently swimming, but he might as well not been there. In Izuku's days, to find something to take his mind off of the subject of giving up, he raffled through the garbage that was on the beach and found something unusual. It was something new, a cooler. Now, people putting their trash here recently wasn't that big of a surprise, but something about it brought Izuku's attention to it, and out of curiosity and desperation to get the thoughts out of his head, he opened it, to find something he wasn't expecting inside, a record player. Well, he didn't know that, and decided to take it home to find out what it was, unknowingly taking something that still belonged to someone. At home, he found out what it was from the internet, and decided to test it out despite having no records to play. He, upon closer investigation, found no way of activating it. During his fiddling with it to find the activation button, he pushed into the dragon's eyes, revealing a panel of buttons. He could see indicts on some buttons indicating that they'd been pushed a lot. So he tried pushing them, only for the panel to close. Realizing this was probably the wrong order to push the buttons, he pushed the dragon's eyes and tied again. This time, trying another order, it went on like this until he got the correct order, which he immediately wrote down, and it revealed a box that had jewelry. Jewelry that created little flying creatures. That is, Daisy Pig, where are we? Stomp, Ox. What's going on here? Tricks, Fox. Is this a trick? Cocky, Horse. Where's that indigent MSTR of ours? Long Dragon, who are you? This got the others to stop flying about confused and pay attention to the person Long just talked to, who happened to be Izuku. Daisy Pig, who are you? Bark Dog, where's MSTR Foo? Izuku. MSTR who? I don't know who you're talking about. Sass Snake, maybe our old star died suddenly and bestowed the box to him on his dying breath. This got the creatures to calm down until Izuku said, "Actually, I found this on the beach among some garbage. He could have died a long time ago, or just recently for all I know." Roar, Tiger. Are you saying that we're in the hands of stranger? The creature practically screamed out. This got the creatures to start panicking again, this time harder, until Long spoke up again. Long Dragon. Things may be dire, but look at this way. It's exactly the same if Fu gave it to this person on his last dying breath. We would have still ended up with a stranger, but this stranger was smart enough to get to the miraculous box all by himself. That got to count for something, doesn't it? Tiki, Ladybug. Long's right. This is the best thing to happen to us considering the situation. The other creatures agreed with her point and calmed down for good this time. Tiki, Ladybug. I'm Tiki the Kwami of creation. It's good to meet you, Izuku. Nice to meet you, Tiki. I'm Izuku Midoriya. And what's a kwami? Long was the one to answer this question. A kwami is a physical manifestation of an abstract concept of your universe, who can bestow upon a person their power over that concept by merging with you through their miraculous. Izuku, huh? Plague Cat. We're physical gods that grant you our power by fusing with you, which is activated by jewelry, known as miraculous. Izuku, oh, does it hurt? The merging, I mean, and do we merge on a mental level too? Tiki, Ladybug. Oh, it doesn't hurt at all for either of us. And no, we do not merge on a mental level, just on a physical level. You're the one in control at all times while we're just aware of what's happening and have no input into what's going on. Izuku, that doesn't seem fair. Stomp, Ox. Better than the alternate option of not using our powers at all. Our powers are much too powerful for this world, or any other when we're using them. This way we get to use our powers to help even if we're not technically using them. Don't worry about it, kid. It's been like this for centuries. Izuku, whoa, you want to help too? Cause that's been my dream ever since I was 5 and A sudden realization overtook Izuku. Wait, do you mean if I use these miraculous, as you call them, then I can be a hero and not be worthless Deku anymore? Sass Snake. Well, a person only uses one at a time for their safety, and a guardian never uses one themselves. But who knows? This whole thing is a new development. So who are we to judge what should and shouldn't happen? Mullo Mouse. Oh, a television box. I wonder what's on right now, Daisy said as she turned on the TV. Izuku was about to stop her when he heard what was on. The same slime villain from an earlier robbery today has been spotted, currently having a hostage it's trying to take over. A news reporter said on the television, "Oh no, the slime villain must have gotten loose when I was on All Might's leg. This is all my fault." Izuku thought, then the camera zoomed in on the hostage, and Izuku's heart stopped. It was Katsuki. "What powers do you have that can help with this?" Izuku said, "Cocky horse. First you have to get there, and that's my power portals, but I'm not giving it to a low class like yourself. Roar, tiger. You don't have to have her permission to use her power. Now I know what to do once you get there. That's where my power comes in. It's a power punch, basically." Izuku glossed over the part where he didn't need their permission to use their powers, and onto the part where he could actually have a superpower, and Izuku was stoked to say the least. How does it work? Long then told Izuku about they, cocky and roar, transformation phrase, and power activation. "Okay, let's go you two." Sass Snake. "What you two?" Izuku I said using more than one at a time will be dangerous. Izuku. "That's why I'm using them one at a time." Sass, "What? What do you mean?" Izuku. "You'll see." He then grabbed their cockies and roars, miraculous, and put them on cocky, full gallop. Izuku was then transformed, not into a half-human hybrid like what he assumed, but he was changed into a costume that contained horse elements. Horse. His hair turned white and long, and was pulled into a ponytail that reached his back, held in place by black suspenders in the shape of ears. He wore black sunglasses. He wore a black shirt with a white CRP top over it hanging by black suspenders. On the back of the CRP top were black wings and a black boomerang, a brown shoulder pad for each shoulder, black pants with brown shorts over it. He wore suspenders as a belt that doubled as a tail. He wore knee-high brown with white highlights. Boots. Izuku didn't have much time to inspect himself, as he immediately went into action mode with saying "Voyage," which immediately made a portal to the slime villain which he stepped through. He was greeted by the sight of a struggling Katsuki and a slime monster, but Izuku didn't have time to dwell on that right now, as he said, "Cocky, dismount." Roar, stripes on. For a second, he was back to being dull, useless Izuku Midoriya. That was all anyone needed to recognize Izuku, especially Katsuki. Then he changed into a super again. Tiger. He had white with light purple stripes, fake tiger ears on his head, a white mask with light purple stripes on it. He was wearing a white jacket with light purple stripes on it. Underneath, he was wearing a purple shirt. White and purple belt attached to it was a purple bolus that was acting as a tail, white pants with light purple stripes, and light purple shoes with white highlights. He then said "Clout," and then punched in the air at the slime monster. This caused a shockwave of energy that sent the slime monster spilling from Katsuki and into splatters on the wall, as well as put out the flames. "Deku, how could you?" was all Katsuki could say before the crowd behind them started cheering loudly. Izuku tokay and ecstatic, no proud of what he accomplished. MSTR Fu decided that today would be the day where he would take a long-awaited break and go for a swim at the beach. Now, usually he left the record player, which had the Miraculous in it, in his home, but due to a string of robberies in the neighborhood, he tokay it with him in a cooler and just to be on the safe side hid it among the garbage on the beach, only to get the surprise of the lifetime to find it missing. "Waze, I messed up again," Fu said, only for Waz to come out of his hiding place in Fu's pocket and say "not again." Later that day, while checking the news for any sign of miraculous behavior, he saw it someone using not one, but two miraculous. Granted, not at the same time, but still. Luckily, the user had de-transformed right out in public. Granted, it was only for a second, but still that was all he needed to find the user. That pride Izuku felt yesterday quickly turned into fear today when Katsuki lunged at Izuku, his hands letting out steam already as he said, "So, you think you're funny with the way you've been hiding a quirk behind everybody's back, especially my own." "Katsuki, I have no idea." But Izuku was cut off by Katsuki saying, "Don't give me that bullshit. I saw that it was you who stopped the slime monster. Did you have a good laugh?" While making me the butt of your joke. This time explosions ran off of Katsuki's hands, which were in the air above him. My Quirk has a weird activation method that I didn't know about until now. I truly thought I was quirkless. Everybody else, except for Katsuki, gasped in amazement from that reveal that not only Izuku had a quirk, but that he was the one who saved Katsuki from the slime monster. "Deku, why you little?" He then fired explosions at Izuku, but just before they hit Izuku said, "Stomp, make way. Resistance," which no-sell the blast. Ox. Izuku was wearing a dark black matador's hat that had formed horns. He wore 2 light black fake bull ears. He wore a rectangle dark black makeup under each eye. He wore a dark black matador jacket, a light black shirt, like the one Cat Noir wears, a dark black with red on one side flag as a belt/tail, light black fingerless gloves, light black pants, and dark black boots with straps. "Deku how?" was the only thing Katsuki could say. "I call my quirk 16 heroes. It allows me to transform into, 16 heroes," Izuku said proud. "Whoa, he's got 13 other forms other than that." Some random student said, "Deku, you little piece of..." Katsuki was interrupted from what he was saying and from another attack by the teacher, saying, "Katsuki, that's enough. Go to the principal's office." It was like a dream. Izuku gotten a power, or powers would be more appropriate. Like he always wanted, Katsuki finally got in trouble. Things couldn't get better, but they could get worse as on his way back home, he was approached by an old man in what looked like green samurai clothing. Izuku would have written him off as a hero Izuku never heard of before if not for the old man saying, "Give me back the Miraculous." How did he? He must be Mstr Fu. Izuku thought, then said, "I need them to become a hero." "Fine, then let's do this the hard way." Mstr Fu said, then charged at Izuku, who said in response, "Long, bring the storm." Wind Dragon. Dragon. Izuku was inside a red bodysuit with scales in the design and black parts of it that gave the impression of shoes and gloves. He wore a red mask with scales as part of the design. His eyes were like Ryuko's. He had a black dragon on his left leg, spurting out lightning, water, and wind onto the right. On his torso was 3 black dragons, each eating each other in a circle, each mouth spurring out one of the 3 elements, wind, water, and lightning. Into the center where they collided, his hair had 3 highlights in it on white, in the form of wind, 1 blue, in the form of water, and 1 yellow, in the form of lightning. Had those things in back of his hair that Ryuko had, and for the tail had the pointer end of a spear for it. Mstr Fu went through Izuku, who reformed a couple of feet away. Impressive you can withstand almost all the Miraculous at once and still be standing. Mstr Fu said, "Not without some kickback, but I can manage it." Izuku said, "That's why no person should have all that power." Mstr Fu said, "Shell to this created a barrier around him. He must have a Miraculous." Izuku thought, then said, "Long, open sky. Cocky, full gallop. Voyage." He then opened up a portal inside Mstr Fu's barrier and jumped in. He then said, "Cocky, dismount. Suppu showtime." Uproar. Monkey. His hair turned red. He wore brown fake monkey ears, a brown mask. He wore brown long sleeves that extended into gloves with black shoulder pads, black arm pads, black fingerless gloves. He wore a brown sleeveless shirt with black going down the sides and meeting at the belly area, like a corset. He wore brown pants and knee-high black shoes. He wore a rope for a belt/tail. Then before Mstr Fu could do anything, Izuku throw the stuffed orange. What uproar manifested. At Mstr Fu, who easily dodged it, but this left him wide open for an attack Izuku did with his bow staff. While Mstr Fu was disoriented, Izuku went it with the orange and touched Mstr Fu with it, causing his power to glitch. Nice. Too bad that doesn't affect the mobility the Miraculous gives me, Mstr Fu said, which got Izuku to thinking it's time to end this fight. Supper nap time. Moon for on. Polarity. Rabbit. He wore a white mask with a blue circle around each eye, a white top hat with a blue ribbon around it, fake bunny ears that were white with blue inside coming from the hat. He wore a white trench coat, white gloves with blue circles around each knuckle, a white waistband with a white RBB ball at the back to represent the tail, white knee-high boots with blue circles on them with a white RBB ball on each foot and on the collar. He then forced the gravity of Mr. Fu to turn too heavy for him. "Do you forfeit?" Izuku said. Then Mr. Fu said, "You got me beat. I'll admit maybe this using more than one Miraculous has some merit. I'm glad you and I could see eye to eye." Izuku then said as the kwamis came out of his pocket, "Bark Dog, we're so glad to see you. Tiki, Ladybug, we're so happy to see you alive and breathing. Sass Snake, what will happen to us now? Because you were implying that Izuku got to keep us. Cocky Horse, leave us with a low class, you gotta be kidding. Stomp, Ox, he already proved his strength to Mr. Fu. What more do you need?" This got Cocky and the others to stop worrying about the situation. "Come on, let's talk at your house. I want to get a good look at where your kwamis will be staying." And Mr. Fu said, luckily Izuku's mom, who know about the kwamis and what they are, was very understanding when he brought a stranger home when Izuku told her that Mr. Fu was the previous owner of the Miraculous and the kwamis by extension. So, Mr. Fu, right? May I ask some questions about this whole Miraculous situation? Like I know my son explained everything to know about this, but I need to know from an expert. Is it going to be safe? Inko, Izuku's mom, said Mr. Fu, then stopped drinking his tea and said, "Well, to be honest, being a Miraculous wielder is a dangerous gig, but there's no such thing as a life without danger in it. If anything, he's more safe with them because he can access their powers that way. Better to be with power than without. You know what I'm saying, right?" "Oh, I get it. Thanks for making me feel better about this whole thing. It feels good to know that my Izuku is in good hands, and much more to know he has a chance of accomplishing his dream. Thank you for that. Thank you, all of you," Inko said, talking to both Mr. Fu and the kwamis on that last part. To which they all said, "You're welcome." Later that day, as Mr. Fu leaves outside, where Inko isn't, so, "When does my training begin?" Izuku asks, only for Mr. Fu to say what training. "It looks like you already mastered each power besides. Teaching isn't my style." Izuku looked down and said, "But I," only to look up and find him already gone. Izuku did the best training he could give himself in the next 10 months and mastered each power, but felt he could do better with proper training, but didn't know where to find the only one who could do it, Mr. Fu, and even if Izuku did, it's not like he could change Mr. Fu's mind anyway, and Quirk consoling was too expensive, so the self-training was the only option Izuku had. It was now time for the entrance exam, and Izuku was nervous, so nervous that he tripped. Luckily, he didn't hit the ground, as someone used their quirk on him to levitate him. As his feet touched the ground, the person who used their quirk on him released him from their quirk. Then they said, "Sorry, I used my quirk on you without your permission first. It's just I thought falling on your face was too much of a bad thing to happen on your first day." The person who turned out to be a girl, much to Izuku's dismay, as he couldn't speak because of it and found himself very flustered. "So anyway, you're welcome and plus ultra," she said, then left, leaving Izuku to say, "I just talked to a girl." Only for Plag, Cat to say, "Don't you need to actually talk for it to count?" "I don't care," Izuku said as he went into the auditorium. Unfortunately, he was sat next to Katsuki, but that didn't bother Izuku in the slightest, as Katsuki hadn't done anything to Izuku after Katsuki went to the principal's office. So Izuku was hopeful, but didn't try anything either, not like he would have anyways. Present Mike was the auditorium speaker, which got Izuku stoked. So stoked he accidentally started muttering. Luckily his kwamis caught it, and alerted Izuku to it. "Roar," Tiger said, "You're muttering. You know how much I hate it when you mutter. When you say something, you have to say it loud and proud. You feel me?" "Yeah," Izuku responded, only for Roar, Tiger to say, "I said, do feel me?" "Yes, ma'am," Izuku said as he got up and did a salute, only to realize what he'd done too late and seat back down in embarrassment. Meanwhile, Katsuki was having a hard time with the fact he could have sworn someone was talking with Deku, but found no one there. He chalked it up to his imagination. Back with Izuku, who was at the testing site getting ready to battle, when he saw the girl from earlier and went up to thank her for earlier when a tall, glasses-wearing boy came up to Izuku and said, "It looks like she's trying to concentrate. What bombarding us with that little stunt you did in the auditorium wasn't enough. Now you're going to try to ruin someone else's chances. No, that wasn't my intent at all. You see, I was trying to thank her for. But Izuku was interrupted with the siren, signaling the start of the entrance exam. Izuku and everyone else immediately went in. He was immediately met with 4 robots, but he wasn't afraid as he said, "Roar, stripes on." Clout. He immediately destroyed the robots with the punch. Then he was greeted with 3 more robots. Then he said, "Roar, stripes off." Cocky, full gallop. Voyage. He said, then made a portal cut the robots' heads off. Then he moved on to a robot and said, "Cocky, dismount." Moon for on. Polarity. He then made the robot weightless, threw it high into the air, and released his power, causing the robot to smash into the ground. Smashing into pieces, he saw 5 robots and said, "Moon, fur off." Ziggy bleated. Janice. Goat. He wore 2 horns on his head as well as 2 fake goat ears, white with gray in the middle. He wore a white and gray mask. He wore a white sleeveless shirt like the one Cat Noir wears, with gray fur on the collar, which was a V-neck, and on the sleeves and on rim of the shirt. Under he wore a long black sleeve shirt that doubled as gloves. He wore white fingerless gloves with gray fur on the ends of the gloves. He wore black pants and white boots with gray fur on the helm of them. He then drew a cannon to life and fired it at the 5 robots, who were in a row, destroying them all. He then said, "Ziggy, hush it. Mullo, get squeaky." Multitude. Mouse. He wore gray with black inside fake mouse ears. He wore gray with black highlights mask. He was wearing a gray jumpsuit with black on the hands/feet/torso, and he wore a rope for a belt/tail. He then shrunk as well as multiplied. He divided the him cells into 3 teams, and each team took on a robot via dismantling it from the inside. The hims then rejoined as one, returning him to his regular size. He then said, "Mullo unsqueak, tricks, let's pounce." Mirage. Fox. He wore an orange mask, orange with white inside fake fox ears, a black button-up shirt over a white shirt, an orange tie, a long orange trench coat, a ribbon around the waist that doubled as a tail, black gloves, black pants, and orange boots with black highlights. The Mirage was making several hims, each one in front of a robot, which all charged at the fake hims, but each one ramming through their Mirage into a wall, leaving them destroyed. Then he said, "Tricks, let's rest." Plat claws out. Cataclysm. Cat. He wore black fake cat ears. He wore a black mask. His eyes were like Cat Noir's. His hair gotten wilder and longer, to the point it reached his chin. He wore a long-sleeve black shirt that was zipped up all the way to the collar. The zipper was dark green and in the shape of a cat's paw. He wore a ripped dark green jacket that did not have any sleeves, dark green gloves that had claws attached / in them, dark green belt/tail, black pants, and dark green shoes. He destroyed one of the robots. It was near the end of the test, and Izuku felt his chances of getting in were high and felt joy upon that. But that joy quickly turned into fear as the Zero Porter came out, which was the size of a building, which was why he was afraid. Izuku was about to run like everyone else when he saw the unthinkable, someone trapped under rubble in the path of the robot. So before he knew it, he ran right up to the trapped person, who turned out to be the girl who saved him from failing earlier. And so he went into action, hoping she counted as a teammate. Plaid claws in. Bolt sunrise. New dawn. Rooster. His hair turned red and was in the style of feathers on a rooster. He wore an orange mask with a small beak attached to it. He wore an orange short-sleeved shirt, red paper making up the belt/tail of a rooster. He wore black gloves that reached his sleeves, black pants, and yellow striped shoes. This instantly got her free of the rubble and healed. "Thank for that, guy I saved. Now let's book it," she said, and book it they did. "You really saved my bacon back there, and I don't even know your name." The girl said, "Hi, I'm Izuku Midoriya. What's your name, may I ask?" She laughed at this. "Yes, I successfully talked to a girl." Izuku thought. She then answered, Achiko Uraraka. "Nice to meet you, Izuku Midoriya." She, now known as Achiko, said. The sirens then flared, signifying the end of the test. "Welp, I guess that's it until we get our test results back. I hope you make it in." Izuku said, only for Achiko to say, "I hope you get in too." He did in fact get in, not at number 1. He placed 5th. That spot was Katsuki's, but Izuku couldn't care as he got in as well as that nice girl, too. Tiki, you did it, Izuku, you got in. I only got this far thanks to you guys. Izuku said, only for Stomp, Ox to say don't say stuff like that. It was thanks to your own hard work that you have gotten this far. Oh gosh, guys. Izuku said, only for Mullo. Mouse to say let's celebrate. As the kwamis celebrated, Izuku couldn't help but give off a small chuckle at the sight. It was Izuku's official first day at U.A, and he was stoked to say the least. He just hoped he wasn't in the same class as that glasses guy, or Slash and Katsuki, and he was with both great. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, he saw Achiko, and his day instantly became better. Oh, we're in the same class. Lucky us. Achiko said, only for Izuku to say yeah. Lucky us. He was then approached by the glasses guy who said, you must be a great hero for figuring out the secret part of the test. Only for Izuku to say, I didn't really. I just did the right thing to do. Ah, you're even more of an inspiring hero than I thought. Tenya Ida at your service. The glasses boy, now known as Tenya, said, if you're here to chit-chat, then I suggest you leave, get in your seats. Said what appeared to be a worm. Everyone still did as the worm said, who revealed himself to be a man in a sleeping bag who said, now get on your training uniforms and get on the track. What about orientation? Achiko said, only for the man in the sleeping bag to say, we teachers have free liberty as to how we run our class. This is how I run mine. Everybody listened to the man they now know as their teacher and changed into the gym clothes and met at the track, where the teacher known as Mr. Aizawa said, you will be participating in a quirk apprehension test where you will be tested on your quirks. Katsuki, what was you throwing score in middle school? 64 meters. What are you getting at, old man? Katsuki said, only for Aizawa to say, my point is now do the throw with your quirk. Katsuki did as asked, and throw the ball using his quirk while saying die. It got over 700 meters. That's my point. You will do the physical apprehensions only using your quirks this time. Aizawa said, only for a pink-skinned girl, named Mina, to say, whoa, that sounds like so much fun. Fun? Is that what you're here for? Fine, I'll give you fun. Whoever gets the lowest score on these tests will be deemed unworthy and expelled. Aizawa said, only for Achiko to say, that's not fair. Life's not fair. Aizawa said, so they did the apprehensions test. The first test was a 50-meter dash, which Izuku used the horse Miraculous to summon up a portal that led to the end of the race, earning him first place. The second test was grip strength test, which Izuku used the goat Miraculous and created an arm lock like Momo created with her quirk and tied for second with her. Next was the standing long jump, which Izuku used the dragon Miraculous to become wind and turned back to himself after 5 miles getting first. Next was the repeated side steps, which Izuku relied on the extra agility the Miraculous gave him and got second. Next and last was the ball throw, which he used the super punch from the Tiger Miraculous, earning him second. Overall, he got first much to Katsuki's dismay, who tried to attack Izuku with his quirk only to find nothing happen when he tried. Only to find the source of this to be Aizawa, using his quirk on Katsuki. Wow, you're the underground hero, Eraserhead. Izuku said, only for Aizawa to say violence like that, referring to what Katsuki tried to do, is unacceptable at a hero school. Try it again and you'll find yourself suspended. He then released his quirk. Meanwhile, the last place student was crying at his apparent explanation, only for Mr. Aizawa to say, oh yeah, no one's getting expelled. That was a ruse to get you, to motivate you. I thought that was obvious, said a female student whose name was Momo. Wow, man, I gotta ask, what exactly is your quirk? Said Denki, only for Izuku to answer. I call it 16 heroes. It allows me to become, well, 16 heroes, but activating it is hard. I need to say an activation code to transform in the first place, and want to activate the hero's power, plus to do all this, I need a corresponding jewelry. Wow, that's so amazing. Needlessly complicated, but amazing. Mina said. The next day, the class 1A, goes through normal classes until they get to hero class, which was being taught by All Might himself, much to Izuku's delight. What, you're here? I thought you said you were quirkless. All Might said, leading Izuku to think, well, this is it. The friendships are going to end once they find out I was without superpowers. Yeah, I did. You see, with the strange activation code, I need to say to not only transform, but to use my power, and that's not even getting into I didn't have the corresponding jewelry. I, as well everyone else, thought I was quirkless up until 10 months ago, where I discover my power. Please don't think less of me. Wow, you just started using your quirk 10 months ago, but you seemed like such a MSTR at using them. Mina said, only for Izuku to say, yeah, that's because I went through extensive self-training, couldn't afford quirk consoling before you ask. And you trained all by yourself too? What an excellent hero you are. Tenya said, only for All Might to say. Anyways, you will be doing heroes versus villains exercise where you will be in teams made of two, trying to either defend or get to a bomb. Who will be on which team, and which team will be the heroes or villains will be decided via lots. Now get on your hero costumes and become heroes. Izuku costume was a tradition Japanese clothing. Regular outfit. He wore an orange mask and orange shirt, just like the one Cat Noir wears, without sleeves. On the back was the symbol of the Guardians in red. Underneath the shirt, he wore a red shirt with the sleeves and helm of the shirt rolled up, orange fingerless gloves that reached his sleeves, orange pants, and orange shoes with red highlights. Izuku was always unlucky, he knew that, but unlucky enough to get Katsuki as his opponent. That was too much even for him, but it ended up happening anyways, much to his utter discomfort. Luckily, he had Achiko as a partner. Much to his relief, something good had to happen out of this bad situation. Izuku thought with joy on his mind. Do you think we can do this? Defeat Katsuki, I mean. You knew him the longest out of every one of us. Achiko said, only for Izuku to say, we don't have to defeat him. We don't have to defeat either of them, in fact. All we need to do is get to and touch the bomb. I feel you have a plan in mind. Achiko said, and indeed he did. The plan was to have him appear behind the bomb, using horses' portals, and then get out of the portal and touch the bomb. And things went exactly to plan without having to fight Tenya, who they were also up against, or Slash and Katsuki, much to his dismay. Now who can tell me the MVP of this round? All Might asked, only for Momo to answer. It was obviously Izuku, considering he was the only one who did anything. Right you are. Tenya, make sure next time to not just stand in front of the bomb. Go around the bomb, that way no one can sneak up on you like they, referring to Izuku and Achiko, did, and Katsuki, don't go off on your own next time, or you'll face off two against one. All Might sighed, earning him a yes, sir, from Tenya and a growl from Katsuki. Later, after school was over, I should talk to him, tell him the truth. Referring to Katsuki, only for Stomp, Ox to say that JRK? No way, besides you're not supposed to tell anyone about us, remember. But Katsuki, such a strong guy. Surely you can respect that and make an exaptation for him. Only for Stomp to say, kid, just because someone's strong doesn't automatically mean they deserve respect. It's all about what's on the inside, and on his inside is CRP. Referring to Katsuki, what Stomp said got Izuku to change his mind about telling Katsuki and about a few other things. The next day, news reporters gather in front of the school's gate, blocking the path of students. Luckily, Izuku was pulled through by Aizawa's capture weapon, used by Aizawa. That day in the homeroom, Aizawa's class, Aizawa said, today you're going to pick a class representative and a vice representative. How will be decided by you guys. I'm going to take a nap. He then went into his sleeping bag and fell asleep. Tenya then said, I say we vote on it. Wouldn't we end up voting for ourselves, Ribbit? Siyu said, then whoever comes on top will be the current person for the job, as they would have gotten someone else's vote. Momo said. Thus, the voting began, and Izuku was voted class representative with Momo as his deputy. What? Who voted for me? Izuku asked. I did, as you already showed yourself to be an excellent hero. Tenya said. Then Achiko said, and you did come up with a plan for what to do during the heroes versus villains exercise. But that was making up a plan, not leading a classroom. Izuku said, only for Momo to say, isn't leading just making up a plan, but for a much larger group of people. Izuku didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded his head in acknowledgement. Later that day, during lunch, Izuku thinks to himself, I can't be a leader, I'm no good at it. Maybe I should make Tenya the leader. He seems like a good fit for the role. Then an alarm blasting through the school went off, signaling an intruder has broken in. Everyone panicked and tried to evacuate, but that created a jam in the hallways. Izuku was being in the middle of that jam when he saw something: news crews entering the school grounds, making Izuku realize that they were the intruders. So he came up with a plan to deal with the jam with this knowledge. Achiko, float Tenya to above the crowd. Tenya, when you're up there, you tell everyone about the fact that the intruders are the news crew. Both Achiko and Tenya agreed to the plan and pulled it off, with Achiko floating Tenya above the ground, who then said, "My fellow classmates, do not panic. It is only the news crew." This got everyone to calm down and Izuku to think, "Yep, I'm defiantly making Tenya the class rep," ignoring the part where it was Izuku's plan that calmed the crowd and make Tenya class rep. Izuku did. The next day, Aizawa announces that the class will be going to the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, or the USJ for short. On the way there, Izuku was bombarded with questions. Sometimes you talk to yourself. "Why is that ribbit?" Su said, only for Aijiro to say, "Yeah, I heard it too." "Oh, 'cause I want to." Izuku said, not wanting to reveal the existence of those who he was really talking to, the kwamis. "Does it have to be those exact jewelry, or can it be any jewelry?" Denki asked, only for Izuku to answer, "It has to be these exact jewelry." Izuku answered, "Can you get more heroes if you find the right jewelry?" Mina asked, only for Izuku to answer, "I think so, but it has to be a one-of-kind type of jewelry, just like these ones, and then I have to figure out the transformation code and the power activation code." "So, I wouldn't hold your breath. How do you speak all the words so fast?" Denki asked, only for Izuku to answer, "Years of muttering quickly under my breath will do that to a person." They, the class, then arrived at the USJ, where they were greeted by 13, much to Izuku's delight, who wanted her autograph, but decided that now wasn't a good time for that. The class had just gotten inside the USJ when they saw Black Mist, Kirojiri, at the plaza. Out of it came a person with hands all over them, Tamura. Mina asked, "Is this part of the USJ?" "No." Aizawa leaped into action immediately. 13 tried to get out with the kids, but were stopped by Kirojiri, who teleported them off to different areas of the USJ. Izuku, Yu, and Minoru were teleported above the shipwreck zone, where Izuku grabbed Tsu and Minoru and said, "Ziggy, bleed it." Janice. With the paintbrush in hand, Izuku created to life a parachute, which he immediately used to land himself, Minoru, and Tsu onto the ship. "Now what? We're surrounded by villains," Minoru said. Only for Izuku said, "Minoru, you use your quirk pop-off to trap the villains. 2. You jump as off the ship to land." They, Minoru and 2, did just that, landing them, Izuku, Minoru, and 2, on the ground, where Izuku immediately said, "Ziggy, hush it." Cocky, full gallop. Voyage. He then opened up a portal to the principal's office, where they saw Nizu and, unknown to Yu and Minoru, All Might. "Ah, great salvation," Minoru said, and then tried to walk through the portal, only to be stopped by Izuku, who said, "Only one item or person can go through the portal, so let's make it All Might." "Ah, do we have to?" Minoru said, only for you to say you know why. "Alert the teachers. The students are in danger. There are villains here. Get All Might." All Might left the room, and then came back a minute later in his buff form, and jumped through the portal. He then rushed to Aizawa, who was broken by a monster with its brain exposed, a Nomu. Seeing the damage the Nomu created and could create, Izuku decided it was time for the Ladybug Miraculous. So he said, "Cocky, dismount. Ticky spots on. Lucky Charm." Ladybug. He wore a pair of red antennas in his hair, a red mask with black spots, black CRP top, red with black spots short sleeved. The sleeves are puffy, jacket, black gloves, over them red with black spots, fingerless gloves, black pants with a red cape on the back in the form of ladybug wings, red with black spots, and red knee-high shoes with black highlights and spots. This created a pair of boxing gloves. "Wait, it wants me to fight that thing," Izuku said in shock and horror, only for All Might to say, "No, it's an indicator that I should fight that thing." Using the gloves, of course. All Might did just that, punching the Nomu out in one punch. All Might then gave back the Lucky Charm back to Izuku, who threw it into the air, fixing all the damages caused by the Nomu, the broken glass, and Aizawa. "Thanks for that, kid." Aizawa said, but this act of punching out the Noma left All Might wide open for an attack by Tamura. Izuku immediately said, Tiki, spots off. Roar, stripes on. Clout. He then super punched at Tamura, but Kurojairi stopped him by teleporting the Nomu in front of the punch, taking the blow. Luckily for All Might, Aizawa erased Tamura's quirk just in the nick of time, too. No. This isn't how it was supposed to go. We were supposed to kill All Might, not get defeated by him, Tamura said, but before he could say anything else, the teachers arrived at the USJ. No, but was interrupted by Kurojairi, who teleported both himself and Tamura out of there. The next day, classes were canceled, leaving Izuku home with the kwamis. Tiki, you did it, Izuku. You really did it. You faced down you first bad guys. Izuku, guys. Stomp. It shows a great strength to your character. That what real strength is, baby. Izuku, guys. Mullo, let's celebrate. The kwamis were about to celebrate when Izuku said, guys, snapping them to his attention, who then said, that wasn't my first bad guy. Remember the sludge villain? Oh, they all said in unison. Mullo, let's celebrate anyways. The kwamis immediately went into celebration mode, making Izuku sigh in defeat. The next day, classes resumed as normal with Mr. Aizawa saying, you guys have a big event coming up, the Udota Sports Festival. Some students worry this is happening too soon after the USJ attack, leading the teacher to notice and say the Udota Sports Festival is too important to cancel. Besides, it's our chance to show the world we're not afraid of future attacks, not to mention the agencies scouting you out. Speak for yourself. I'm terrified, Minoru said, only for Aizawa to say they will be extra security form supers in there, just in case something goes wrong. This got a collective of students, the ones who were worried, to sigh in relief. After class, everyone decides to stop worrying about the USJ and instead get pumped about the Udota Sports Festival, with the one being most pumped being Achiko, who put on a game face and said, I plan to do my best. Afterwards, Izuku asks Achiko, why are you so pumped about the sports festival? It has to do with why I wanted to be a hero for the money. Achiko just looked at Izuku's and Tenya's shocked faces, and Achiko said, not for me, for my parents. You see, we were always poor thanks to my dad's construction company not doing well. Why not use your quirk to help cut costs at the construction site? Tenya said, only for Achiko to say, I wanted to do that, but my parents insisted I follow my dream, which was being a hero instead. So I decided to do both. Follow my dream and make lots of cash so my parents can take it easy. Achiko, that's so noble of you, Izuku said, only for Tenya to say it certainly is. Ah, you guys, Achiko said. They Izuku, Achiko, and Tenya went to lunch together. Once the school day ends, class 1 are unable to leave to a group of other students blocking the doorway. Can't you see? They're seeing up the competition. This got the students who were blocking the doorway to react with anger. Roar said, come on, Izuku, you know what he's doing isn't right. Speak up. So this is 1A? If it's a bunch of pricks like this guy, then I don't see how any of you got in. A general studies student, Hitoshi, said, only for Izuku to say back to Roar, I can't, I'm not the class rep, and even if I was, I don't have the courage. What did you say? Katsuki said, responding to Hitoshi, you face down super villains. What's the difference? Roar said, he said you're a bunch of pricks. One of the students from 1B, Tetsu, said the difference is I'm weak. Izuku shouted that last part, realizing too late what he had done, getting the crowd's and his classmates' attention. I'm weak. I always known that. I didn't discover my quirk until 10 months ago, and I've been trying so hard to play catch up. So hard. That's why I promised this to work too. No, 10 times harder than everybody else. We all are. So if you think we're a bunch of pricks for something that wasn't our faults, then you need to get your heads checked. Izuku said to everyone, mostly the crowd on that last part. This got the crowd to leave in shame, except for Hitoshi, who said, don't think this changes anything. I'm still going to take one of your spots. 2 weeks later, and the Udota Sports Festival begins, and Shoto declares war on Izuku, much to his surprise. With all your powers, it's only natural I pick you as someone to defeat. Shoto said, only for Izuku to say, bring it on. The one to make the speech for the first years was Katsuki, who messed it up by saying, "I will win the sports festival," getting boos from everyone, including his own classmates. The first event for the first years was an obstacle race, which Izuku won by using the horse Miraculous portal power to win after they signified the start of the race. While waiting for the others, Izuku de-transformed and feed Kaki so he could use her in the next event. The next event was cavalry battle, where teams made up of 2 to 4 would fight for or slash and defend their points to get to the next round. Their points were decided by their rankings in the last round, which meant first get 10 million points, and Izuku wondered what he did in a past life to get this much bad luck. As everybody stared him down, Achiko, the ray of sunshine, offered to be Izuku's partner, making him cry. So did Fumikage and some girl Izuku didn't recognize named Mei, who claims to have invented hoversaws. This gives Izuku the idea to portal the team high up in the air, where Achiko will make them weightless, and Mei would guide them with her saws and Fumikage would defend them just in case someone attacked. Things went exactly to plan, except for the fact Fumikage wasn't defending because they were so high up, no one could get to them to attack anyways. No one got there. Izuku, Achiko, Fumikage, and Mei points, not even once. Shoto brings Izuku to the student and faculty entrance, where Shoto explains his tragic backstory of how his dad went overboard in training Shoto, and his mother, in a fit of insanity, burned half his face, and that's why he doesn't use his flames. Unknowingly being overheard by Katsuki, Izuku doesn't know what to do with the information he was given, but he knows one thing. He has to help Shoto overcome it and use his flames. Meanwhile, Katsuki decided things needed to change for him, but it was too late. The villain Tamura had already set his sights on Katsuki. The next and final event for the first years was one-on-one matches, which Izuku got Hitoshi as an opponent, someone Izuku know nothing about. But Mashireo fixed that by telling Izuku that Hitoshi's the reason I disqualified myself out of the tournament. He did something to me during the round. I can't describe it. It was like I was under his control, but I know it happened because I responded to him. So don't do that, he explained, getting Izuku to know what to do. Later, Izuku fed Kaki so he could use her power in the fight, as was his plan, which was to simply portal his opponent out of bonds. But no plan goes off without a hitch. Before he even spoke, Hitoshi said, "So you thought you were quirkless? How was it? Not having the burden of having responsibility on your shoulders, I mean. Is this guy serious? How could he make it out like being quirkless was a good thing?" Izuku thought, then said, "Hey, how could?" But was stopped mid-sentence by Hitoshi controlling him with his quirk. "Good boy. Now walk out of bonds." Izuku then started walking to the out-of-bonds area, as instructed. "Plaque, Cat said, kid, what are you doing?" But Izuku couldn't answer. As if he was under some sort of trance, huh? I can't stop myself. This must be this guy's quirk, Izuku thought. Plague then did the only thing he could think of. He, while making sure no one saw him except for the sharp-eyed Nizu, bit Izuku's finger. This snapped him out of the trance just right when he was going to step out of bonds. He then said, "Kaki, full gallop. Voyage." He made a portal underneath Hitoshi that led to out of bonds, winning Izuku the match. Izuku then de-transformed and said, "Thank you, Plague." "No problem, kid," Plague said in return. In the stands, Izuku fed Kaki so he could use her power again, only for Achiko to ask, "Izuku, why did you put food in your pocket?" For later, Izuku said, the next matchup Izuku had was against Shoto, and Izuku had a plan to not only win, but to also help Shoto. Shoto tried the ice move he did against Hanta on a lower scale, but Izuku said, "Roar, stripes on. Clout." He then super punched the ice, destroying it, and sending Shoto almost out of bonds if it wasn't for Shoto creating an ice wall to stop himself from going out of bonds. "Why aren't you using your full power like the rest of us are?" Izuku said. Then Shoto said, "Because I swore I would never use his flames." He then created another glacier attack, but Izuku said, "Kaki, dismount. Plague, claws out. Cataclysm." He then destroyed the ice glacier before it could attack him. "It's not his power, it's yours. So use it." This got Shoto to remember why he wanted to become a hero. This is what got him to use his flames. "Izuku, thank you," Shoto said, then used his flames, but the flames plus the cold air superheated it. Cementos, tried to stop it by putting up walls, but Izuku said plague, claws in. Cocky, full gallop. Voyage. And created a portal where the flames were heading and put the other portal in the direction of Shoto, who put up an ice shield. While he was doing that, Izuku said, cocky, dismount. Moon for on. Polarity. He then made Shoto super heavy. He might have survived the fire attack thanks to the ice shield, but was too heavy to move. Can you move? Midnight asked, only for Shoto to say, I'm not done yet. He then produced fire at Izuku, who said, Moon, for off. Long, bring the storm. Wind Dragon. The fire attack simply went through Izuku, and as Wind, he tried to push Shoto out of bonds, but Shoto created an ice wall to stop himself from going out of bonds. Izuku then reformed back where he was and said Lightning Dragon. He then turned into lightning and tried to zap Shoto, who put up an ice barricade, but Izuku simply went through the ice, as ice is made of water, and zapped Shoto, finishing him off finally. Izuku reformed outside the barrier, the victory. He hit the stands fed cocky, plague, roar, moon, and long. Izuku's next and final matchup, it was the finale match of the day, was against Katsuki, and Izuku was nervous as hell, but confident he could win. Katsuki blasted himself to Izuku, who said, cocky, full gallop. Voyage. Then created a portal leading to outside the bonds in the path of Katsuki, who quickly course-corrected himself around the portal and to Izuku, and tried to explosion-fill punch him, but Izuku dodged the punch. Knowing Katsuki always went in with a right hook was useful, and said roar, stripes on. Clout. He then super punched Katsuki, who almost went out of bonds but stopped himself by blasting himself forward. Izuku then said roar, stripes off. Moon for on. Polarity. He then made Katsuki super heavy, who then blasted himself up again and again to Izuku to blast him. Izuku said moon for off. Long, bring the storm. Lightning Dragon. He tried to zap Katsuki, but he, without the effect of the rabbit Miraculous weighing him down, literally, got up and dodged every attempt Izuku made at striking him until he had to reform as himself. That's it. I didn't want it to come to this, but you left me with no choice. Long, open sky. Suppo showtime. Uproar, which created a stuffed elephant. Haha, what are you going to do with that? Throw it at me. Katsuki said, only for Izuku to say yes. And throw it at Katsuki. Izuku did. Katsuki didn't even bother to dodge it, and it hit him dead center. Katsuki tried to blast himself forward, but found his quirk not working. What happened? Where's my quirk? Katsuki asked, only for Izuku to say, it's gone, I erased it. So that means you're essentially quirkless, just like I was. Deku, why you little? Katsuki then lodged at Izuku, who with the extra agility granted by the Miraculous easily dodged, and put him down and held him down. Katsuki, can you move? Midnight asked, just give me a second, Katsuki said, then tried to get up, but found it impossible to Izuku's enhanced strength thanks to the Miraculous. Eventually, Midnight called it. Katsuki is unable to move. Izuku Midoriya wins the first-year festival. Normally, Katsuki would have been low-down furious at that, but his earlier decision to change made him instead accept the loss, which Izuku took note of. Is Katsuki changing? Izuku said, only for long to say we'll see. No matter, because Izuku had won the first year's Udata Sports Festival, and with that, 2 tickets to Island. The moment he was awarded the gold medal from All Might was a dream come true for Izuku. Afterwards, Aizawa excuses the class for 2 days. On the first day, Achiko came to celebrate Izuku's victory, much to his and his mother's delight. After Achiko left, the kwamis put on their own celebration, making Izuku even more happier. On the day classes resumed, Izuku, on his way to school, is recognized from the sports festival. Wow, you're the winner of the sports festival, aren't you? Some stranger said, much to Izuku's embarrassment. Yeah, you the kid with the crazy costumes. Why is that, by the way? Someone else asked, only for Izuku to answer. It's part of my quirk, which is called 16 Heroes. It allows me to turn into, 16 heroes. Wow, that's so cool, someone said. Izuku bathed in the praise until he got to school and ran into Tenya. Are you okay? I heard on the news what happened to your brother. I'm fine. Now let's get to class. Can't be late to being earlier. Something about Tenya's words didn't reassure Izuku. If anything, they made him more worried, as Izuku could tell that Tenya wasn't acting like Tenya. Before Izuku could go to class, he was sent to the principal's office. "What's this about?" Izuku asked, only for Nizu to answer, "It's about you bringing in a pet into your round with Itoshi. Don't worry, we're not disqualifying you for it, as it was a one-time thing, and all the thing did was bite you, but don't do it again." "Yes, sir," Izuku answered, only for Nizu to say good. "Now go to class." In class, Aizawa announces that you guys will be doing hero informatics, which causes many students to panic thinking they had a test until Aizawa said, "It will be you guys choosing your hero names." This got everyone to cheer up in celebration. Aizawa then tells the class, "You having hero names will be important to do with hero drafts, for those of you that don't have any. Don't worry, you will spend the week interning with pro heroes." And then he shows the class the hero drafts, with Izuku being number 1 in hero drafts. What Deka beat me? I mean, good job, Izuku. Izuku couldn't help but notice that, whoa, he really is changing. Izuku thought with glee. The hero naming then began, with Izuku being last due to all the names he had to write down. He then went up and showed his names and said, "These are my names. My pig form name is Pig. Party and my." He was interrupted by Denki asking, "What about when you not in any of the forms?" "What?" Izuku asked, only for Denki to say, "You heard me. What are people supposed to call you, Izuku? Why not give yourself a hero name for when you're outside a costume? You already have a costume for when you're not in any forms, so why not have a name to go with it?" I didn't think of it. I don't have anything." Only for Achiko to say, "What about Deku? It has a you can do it vibe to it." That gave Izuku an idea, and say, "Yes, why not just have that, but have miraculous before it? You know, because my powers are miraculous. What do you think?" "Miraculous Deku. That sounds like a fine name." Momo said, only Mina to say, "Yeah, it adds a layer of magic to it. It suits you, you know, because your powers seem to be magic." Izuku couldn't believe how close to the truth Mina was, but ignored that feeling of dread. Izuku instead thought of who he'll pick for his hero draft. "I can't pick a hero who will help me with all of my powers because a week is too short for that. I need to pick a hero who can help me with the one I'm struggling with. The snake one, it requires one knowing how to fight in physical combat, and I don't know how to do that." Izuku thought, then decided on Gunhead for that. On their Class 1A, way to the train station for their internships, Izuku and Achiko spoke to Tenya. "Are you sure you're okay? You can come to us if you're not." They said only for Tenya to say, "I'm fine, and if I'm ever not fine, Izuku can just portal to me." "You bet I will." Izuku said. Then they, Class 1, got on their trains. "Good luck." Tenya yelled at Izuku and Achiko, who both said, "Good luck to you too." Back to Tenya, their trains departed. Izuku and Achiko trained with Gunhead, first learning how to de-knife and take down someone at the same time, which both Izuku and Achiko found invaluable to know how to do. The next day, they even learned how to do each separately, just in case. That night, Izuku checks the news and learns Nomus are attacking Hosa's city. The League must be working with Stain. I know he's in Hosa's city because it follows his pattern of operating. Anyone could have guessed that, even Tenya. That's why he went to Hosa's city, to track down Stain for what he did to Tenya's brother. I better go after him. Izuku then said cocky, full gallop, voyage, and made a portal leading to Tenya, only to find Stain right about to strike him, not having the time to wait for Gunhead. Izuku went through the portal and quickly said, "Cocky, dismount. Roar, stripes on. Clout." He then super punched Stain while saying, "Leave them alone." This punched Stain off of Tenya and into the wall. Izuku then pinged his location on his phone, then said to Tenya, before he gets back up, "Let's get out of here." Izuku said, We can't move because of his quirk. It works by him ingesting our BLD. He did it to native than me." "Izuku, get out of here. This is my fight." Stain then got up only for Izuku to say, "Roar, stripes off. Moon fur on. Polarity." He then made Stain super heavy, who then, while on the ground, threw knives at Izuku, who said, "Moon fur off. Long, bring the storm. Wind dragon." The knives went through Izuku, but without Moon, Stain was no longer held down. Izuku then reformed and said lightning dragon. He tried to zap Stain, but he was too fast for Izuku, who had to reform. That's when fire shot at Stain. Shoto, the creator of the flame, said, "You could have sent more than your location on your phone." Only for Tenya to say, "Leave both of you now. I inherited the Ingenium name. I should be the one who brings Stain in. I never seen such a face of vengeance on Ingenium's face before," said Shoto. This got Tenya realize what he's doing, that when Izuku said, "That's why you're here, for vengeance, not to save native like a hero would." This got Tenya to realize even more what he was doing. Stain then throws a knife at Shoto, who nearly avoids it but cuts his cheek open. Izuku then said, "Long, open sky. Pollen buzz on. Venom. B." He had 2 black together strips of hair and 1 yellow. It's in the middle of the black ones. He wore a yellow mask with black stripes, a yellow with black stripes jacket with short puffy sleeves, a black shirt, black gloves with yellow fingerless gauntlets on top, yellow with black striped shorts that were puffy, a black spinning top. That's not the weapon. On the back to represent a stinger. Underneath the shorts were black pants and yellow shoes with black stripes. He tried to hit Stain, and Shoto tried to free Stain, but he threw his katanas into the air to distract Izuku and Shoto and nearly licked Shoto's BLD, but Shoto repeals Stain with fire, who dodges it. But that's when Izuku attacks Stain successfully, freezing him in place. "What did you do?" Shoto asked, only for Izuku to answer with, "I freezed him with Honeycomb's power, Venom. Now let's quickly tie him up before the power wears off when I'm forced to de-transform." Wait, forced? So, the transformation and the power that comes with it doesn't last forever. Shoto said, only for Izuku to say, "Yep. Guys, I'm sorry I drag you into this. I wasn't being a hero. I want to be a hero." Tenya said, only for Shoto to say, "Then get up and be the man you want to be." As if on command, the paralysis on Tenya wore off when Shoto said that, and Tenya got up. "Yeah, I will. I'll be that man." "Tenya, you're free, but how?" The paralysis on native didn't wear off yet, and he was struck first by it. "Maybe it has something to do with BLD type," Izuku said. That Izuku, Tenya, and Shoto then tied up Stain with some rope they found lying around. Then Izuku was forced to de-transform. That's when Endeavor showed up and said, "So, you guys tokay on a supervillain without permission to use your quirks, huh? You know why that's bad, right?" "Yes, Endeavor," they said in unison. Izuku then remembered his workplace mentor and quickly fed Kaki so he could use her power. But just before he was about to transform with her, a Nomu grabbed him and flew off with him. Izuku didn't know what to do. Luckily for him, Stain escaped the rope and rescued him by stabbing the Nomu in the brain. Stain went on to talk about his ideology. Fake pro-heroes and pathic criminals must be purged of this world to create a better society for all. After that, he froze, his own quirk affecting him because one of his ribs broke his lung, forcing him to ingest his own BLD. Izuku then said, "Kaki, full gallop. Voyage, Gunhead isn't going to like this." He then stepped through the portal, and he was right. Gunhead didn't like it and made Izuku do 100 push-ups. The next day, Izuku, via a computer, Shoto and Tenya were interviewed by Detective Kenji, who said, "Now, I could arrest you all for doing vigilance work, or you can keep the fact you fought a secret and let Endeavor take all the credit." "We'll do the second one," they, Izuku, Shoto, and Tenya all said in unison. Izuku and Shoto return to training, while Tenya goes to be with his family. Meanwhile, Katsuki takes Best Jeanist words to heart and promises to return after the week is over for more lessons on how to behave. The week ends, and everyone returns to classes, where Aijiro and Denki laugh at Katsuki's new hairstyle, which gets him to explode, not literally, which causes his hair to go back to normal, which causes Katsuki to calm down. Everyone talks about their work studies, especially about Izuku's, Shoto's, and Tenya's encounter with Stain, and that they're probably grateful that Endeavor showed up and saved them, unaware that's not what happened. Izuku shared a knowing look with Shoto and Tenya. That's when Denki said the hero killer is kind of cool, prompting Izuku to scold Denki, who apologized after that. Tenya admits that the hero killer would have been cool if he didn't kill for his own ends. Now, everyone go to your seats. Everyone is annoyed by his antics, except for Izuku, who's glad that Tenya back on the path of heroism. At Class 1A's Hero Basic Training class, they're at Field Gamma, where All Might explains that today will be a race to me. You'll be pair in groups of 5 made up of 4. Whoever gets to me first wins. That's not fair. This is totally advantage toward Izuku and his horse form. Minoru said, only for All Might to say, tell you what, Izuku is banned from using his voyage ability. Yes, now we're cooking, said Aijuro. Izuku wasn't nervous, in fact, he was smiling. He finally got to try out what Miraculous could do to him physically. The first group consists of Izuku, Tenya, Mina, Hanta, and Mashireo, who all, except for Izuku, think Izuku will lose without Voyage's power, even when he said sass, scales slitter. Second chance. Snake. His hair was highlighted with light green. He wore a green mask with scales part of the design. He wore a green jumpsuit with scales as part of the design, light green gloves, light green belt that resembled an Ouroboros snake that was going around the waist, light green shoes. Hanta took the lead with Izuku in third, using his miraculous enhanced speed and agility to go through the obstacle course, only getting a slight hiccup when he landed on large metal pipe that fell beneath him, causing Izuku to use the power of the snake to do it again, this time avoiding said metal pipe and landing him third. Wow, congratulations, Izuku, you won third place without Voyage, but why didn't you use this form's power? All Might asked, only for Izuku to answer. Actually, I did. It's called Second Chance. It allows me to go back as many times I want within a 5-minute time frame. I only had to use it once. Wow, that's amazing, Achiko said. Indeed, you never cease to amaze. Tenya said, only for Izuku to say, you guys. The next day, Aizawa tells the class that you'll be going to Forest Lodge this summer, but only if you pass the end of term test. If not, then you'll be stuck in remedial school. A week away from the exams, and Aizawa warns them, you guys better prepare your minds and bodies for what's coming up. This gets most of the class to discuss getting ready for the end of term test. Both Denki and Mina, the lowest scoring of the class, admit at the same time in unison, I've actually haven't studied due to the events that have been taking place throughout the semester. Fumikage says, I agree with your guys' point. The test will be even more difficult than the midterms, says Rikido, only for Minoru to tease Denki and Mina by saying, only the practical will be difficult for me because I have high grades in class. Izuku and Tenya try to encourage them, Denki and Mina, but Shoto intervenes by saying, it should be easy if you just paid attention in class. Denki is discouraged, but Momo says, I'll tutor you. I'll tutor anyone who needs the help. Wow, that's so amazing of you, said Achiko, only for Aijuro to say to Katsuki, I don't feel comfortable getting tutored from her. Then I'll tutor you myself. If it makes you feel comfortable, that is. Katsuki said, only for Aijuro to say, yeah, you rock, man. There was a new feeling in Katsuki's chest. It was happiness. Happiness for making someone else happy, so that's how it feels like. I like it. Only for Yuga to say, it's too late to cram for exams. Who are you to speak? You need to cram too, said Mizo. At lunch, Izuku and his classmates question the nature of the exams when someone, Nito, bumps into Izuku's head and sarcastically apologizes for it. Oh, sorry. Your head was just so big. Can one A really go 1 month without getting into trouble? I mean, how hard is it to? But was interrupted by Itsuka and knocks him out and tells class 1A upperclassman told me that the end-of-term exam would be robots. Nishio said, Itsuka, how could you? You're a traitor, you. Only to be interrupted again by being knocked out by Itsuka again, who said, you guys aren't detestable like he claims you are. Once they, class 1A, return to their homeroom class, Mina and Denki celebrate the fact they will have to fight robots, while both saying in unison, yeah, we get to fight robots. Only for Mizo to crash the mood by saying, that's because you guys have a hard time controlling your quirks against humans. Either way, they, referring to Mina and Denki, need to learn to fight. I mean, if it doesn't inconvenience either of you. Our little hothead is finally growing up. Brings a tear to my eye. Mina said, only for Katsuki to say, what did you say, you little? I mean, thank you for the compliment, Mina. It means a lot to me. There he goes again. I love our little fireball. Mina said, then hugged him affectionately. Katsuki got mad from this, but quickly calmed down. Afterwards, the students spend their last week. Before finals, the students find themselves studying. Denki, Mina, Mashireo, Kyoka, and Hanta meet Momo at her luxurious estate to study. Izuku, Achiko, and Tenya study on their own, while Katsuki tutors Ijiro. They all undergo 3 straight days of written tests, and then the day of the practical test arrives. Kyoka notes that all the teachers are present. Aizawa says, "You guys must know what's going to happen. We're going to fight robots." Denki and Mina say in unison, only for Nizu to explain that, "No, you will not be fighting robots unlike the previous years. You have already encountered villains, which is why we decided to rump up the exam, plus ultra. You will be fighting your teachers." That statement shocked the whole class. Don't worry, you won't be alone. You'll be paired in teams of 2 against 1 teacher each. As for the pair, it will be Shoto and Momo who will face off against Aizawa, Izuku and Katsuki against All Might, Denki and Mina versus me, Koji and Kyoka versus Present Mike, Yu and Fumikage versus Ectoplasm, Hanta and Minoru versus Midnight, Mizo and Toru versus Snipe, Rikido and Ijiro versus Cementos, and finally Tenya and Mashireo versus Power Loader. Normally Katsuki would be furious to be working with Izuku, but decided with his new attitude to accept it. With this new attitude, Katsuki actually listened to Izuku's idea. Izuku and Katsuki, exam started and Izuku said cocky, full gallop, voyage, and created a portal that led to outside the gates, but before either one of them could go through the portal, All Might stop them from going through by standing in front of it. Then Izuku said cocky, dismount. Mullo, get squeaky multitude. He then shrunk himself while making copies of himself. Katsuki then grabbed 2 groups of the copies and threw them at All Might like baseballs while kicking. All Might easily caught both groups, but Katsuki just laughed much to All Might's dismay. "Why are you laughing? None of the Izukus made it through." "Did they? Because there were a lot of them. They were the ones in your hands, ones who were in front of my feet when I was kicking them." The realization hit All Might like a lead pipe that Katsuki tricked All Might into letting Katsuki simply kick 1 or more of the Izukus past All Might. Finding the Izukus would be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, next to impossible, so All Might gave up. "I admit it, you got me beat." In a couple of minutes, the sirens flared, signifying that one of the Izukus, had crossed the finish line. The students who failed either the written or slash and the practical are afraid that they won't be able to go to the lodge, but Aizawa reveals that everyone will be going to the lodge. The ones who failed either the written exam or slash and the practical will be still taking remedial classes. Just at the lodge, getting all the students to be excited about going, they immediately discuss stuff they'll need to get for the trip, and so decided to take a shopping trip. At the mall, everyone from class 1 a.m. Eastern Time up, but they soon separated, leaving Achiko and Izuku together by themselves. Achiko soon left out of embarrassment, leaving Izuku totally alone, until what looked like a fan came up to Izuku, only for it to turn out to be Tamura. Before Izuku could say anything, Tamura put 4 of his fingers around Izuku's neck. "How did you do it? How did you get a quirk and ruin my MSDR's plan?" Tamura asked. Only instead of answering his question, Izuku said, "Stomp, make way. Resistance. You have no power over me anymore." Tamura tried to us his quirk on Izuku, but like Izuku said, it didn't work. "Next time, Izuku, next time." Tamura then left, and Izuku immediately called the police, who called his mother, who once Izuku and his mother, were alone, said, "Are you hurt?" "No, thanks to the kwamis." Izuku said, only for Inko to say, "Thank God they are in your life. Who knows what would have happened if they weren't? I'll be the same powerless loser I was before who thinks about suicide." Izuku said, only for Inko to say, "Oh, Izuku, I'm so sorry. So sorry," she said while hugging him and crying, "Oh, Mom." Izuku said while hugging back and crying. Izuku didn't know who to choose to take with him to Island. At first he chose Achiko, but she was already going with Momo. Then he chose Tenya, but he's already going as representative for his family. Soon he found out all his classmates were already going, which made him wonder what was so special about winning them, if tickets was this easy to get, except for Ijiro and Katsuki. Izuku didn't know Ijiro well enough, and while Katsuki was changing for the better, Izuku wondered how much for the better. There was one way he would find out. He would quote-unquote accidentally spill his food on Katsuki. To test his reaction, that is. It went all according to Izuku's plan. He spilled his tray of food onto Katsuki. Katsuki was mad as hell at first, and said, "Izuku, what the?" Then calmed down and said, "Are you alright?" This was the reaction Izuku was looking for. So, later he gave Katsuki one of the tickets. "Why me?" Katsuki asked, only for Izuku to answer, "Because we're friends." He said sincerely. This surprised Katsuki because he thought after all he'd done Izuku wouldn't consider them friends, but was ultimately glad he did consider them friends. On the plane ride to Island, Izuku asked the question that had been bugging him, "Katsuki, why did you change?" Only for Katsuki to answer, "I overheard Shoto tell you his tragic backstory, and I couldn't help but think I was like his old man. Both of us mean and willing to do anything to get to the top, and that scared me, Izuku, beyond what you probably know. So, I decided to change for the better because I didn't want to be him anymore. You feel me?" "Yes." They, Izuku and Katsuki, then had a pleasant conversation on the rest of the planned ride to Island. At Island, they run into Achiko, Momo, and Kyoka, then Minoru, Denki, and Tenya. Then Katsuki participates in one of the events, then Izuku participates in that exact same event using Tiger Stripe's Cloud Super Punch, winning him first. "Good job, Izuku." Katsuki said then they, Izuku, Katsuki, Achiko, Momo, Kyoka, Minoru, Denki, and Tenya. Notice Shoto doing the event and getting tied for first, and they, Izuku, Katsuki, Achiko, Momo, Kyoka, Minoru, Denki, Tenya, and Shoto decide to meet up later at the gala. At the gala, they meet up with one unknown person also meeting up with them. "Melissa, who are you?" Denki asked. "Hi, I'm Melissa Shield. It's nice to meet you." "Like David Shield, All Might's partner?" "That David Shield?" Izuku asked, only for Melissa to answer yes. To everyone's amusement, "Are we done talking, because I like to go to the gala, if that doesn't displease anyone?" Katsuki said, "All right, let's go." Achiko said then the alarms blasted. "What's that?" Denki asked, only for Melissa to answer, "That's the alarms signaling that a villain is on the island. Look at the gala. Everyone's lying down except for a few people. That's where the bad guys must be. They must be the bad guys," Kyoka said. Then Izuku caught All Might's attention, who then explained what was going on to Kyoka, who was overhearing thanks to her quirk, who told everyone else, "I can reset the security system, which will give the people back control of the robots." Melissa explained, but Denki said, "No offense, but we just meet you. How can we trust you like that? I can use my quirk to hear her heartbeat and see if she's lying." Kyoka said and did just that, only to find out that Melissa wasn't lying. "She's not lying." Kyoka said, "All right then, let's do it. Let's save the day." Achiko said, "Wait, we can't use our quirks to fight. It will count as us doing vigilance work. Didn't you learn anything from the USJ incident?" Minoru said, only for Melissa to say, "On Island you are allowed to use your quirks freely as you see fit." "She's not lying," Kyoka said, only for Izuku to say, "We can save people without fighting. Here's my plan. I'll use Chariot's power to portal Melissa to the breaker SWCH, where she'll reset the security system." Everyone agreed to the plan, except for Melissa. "Chariot. Who is Chariot?" "It's the name of one of my forms I can take," Izuku said. They then explained the plan to All Might, who agreed to it. Izuku then said, "Cocky, full gallop. Voyage." He then produced a portal to the breaker SWCH, which Melissa stepped through and reset the security system. Meanwhile, they went to the breaker SWCH manually, only to find Melissa taken hostage by the villain Wolfram. "Wolfram, what are you doing? This wasn't part of the deal. You guys were supposed to be fake villains." "What are you talking about?" Izuku said, only for Melissa to say, "Dad here hired the villains to take back something he created. These are supposed to be fake villains. So why are you holding my daughter hostage?" David said, only for Wolfram to say, "That's the problem. We're not fake villains. We're the real deal. Your assistant, Sam, hired us knowing that." "No, Melissa." "I'm sorry," David said. That's when All Might came busting through the floor. "Everything's going to be okay. You know why? Because I am here. Come any closer and I'll hurt your Melissa. Wolfram said, who put some metal on Melissa's neck and then charged at All Might, controlling metal. That must be his quirk, Izuku thought, referring to Wolfram. That's when he said, cocky, dismount. Supper showtime. Uproar. This created a stuffed banana which he threw at Wolfram, who was too distracted charging at All Might to dodge, which disabled Wolfram's power. All Might. Melissa's free from Wolfram. You can attack now. Wolfram tries to shoot All Might, but David jumped in the way of the bullet. Stop playing hero. You think one good deed will erase what you've done. All Might punches Wolfram out. Wolfram and his army are arrested while David is taken to a hospital. Class 1A and Melissa spend the rest of their time on Island having fun. Melissa eventually visits her dad in the hospital. The class arrived at a cliff where the wild pussycats are. Wow, you guys have been great heroes over the last decade. And Izuku was interrupted by Pixie Bob putting her hand over his face and saying, we're young at heart. Mandalay shows the class that the lodge is at the base of the mountains, and they, the class, better get there if they want lunch. The students try to get back onto the bus, but are thrown off the cliff by Pixie Bob using her quirk to move the earth. They, the class, then land at the base of the cliff, and Izuku tried to immediately use Chariot's power to create a portal to the lodge, but before he can, he is told telepathically that you have to actually run through the forest. So Izuku and his classmates did just that, running into monsters made up of earth. Izuku destroyed several monsters with Tiger Stripe's Super Punch, and then destroyed a monster with Nine's Cataclysm, then used Chariot's power to portal cut several of them in half, then used Ramhead's power to create a rocket launcher and fired the rocket at several of them, then jumped up really high into the air while hoping the monsters counted as an item and said, bark on the hunt. Dog. He wore a brown hat with fake dog ears part of it, a brown mask, a brown short-sleeved shirt, long past the shoulder black gloves, brown wristbands, a black corset, a ball on the collar, brown puffy shorts, a brown boomerang representing the tail, black stockings, and brown shoes. He then threw the ball at one of the monsters which hit it and said, fetch, which teleported the monster to where he was currently which was in the air, and let gravity do the rest of the work, which made it come crashing down. He then turned into Moon Rabbit and made one of the monsters weightless. Then he kicked it high into the sky and then released his power, making it come crashing back down. Eventually they, the class, made it to the lodge where they were greeted by the wild PP cats, they teacher, and a random small child. Ah, who is this adorable baby? Mina asked, only for Mandalay to answer, that is my nephew Koda. Hi Koda, it's so nice to meet. Izuku was interrupted by a kick to the ball. Ouch, I should have been Oxford for that. That form would have taken the blow. Izuku thought grimly. I like his style. I mean, that wasn't nice, kid. Katsuki said, only for Shoto to say, no, wonder you like him for a moment. He reminds me of how you were. We're being the choice word here. Katsuki said, only for Aizawa to say, get your things off the bus and you'll have dinner afterwards. At dinner, Pixie Bob explains, we won't be cooking food for you after this, so don't get too comfortable. Following the dinner, Minoru tries to scale the walls, only to be stopped by Koda, who in doing so, sees the girl's side of the bathhouse and faints because of it. Izuku quickly went into action by saying Plag, claws out, and using the extra agility the Miraculous gives him to catch Koda. Izuku gives Koda to Mandalay, who explains to Izuku. The reason why Koda hates heroes so much is because his parents were heroes who died on the job, and he blames on the fact they were heroes, thinking they left him. Izuku didn't know what to do with this information, but he knew he had to help Koda. The next day, they, Class 1A, trained with Izuku working on merging Miraculous, but it wasn't going well as he could only hold the form for more than 15 seconds, so the wild pussycats eventually gave up after a day of trying. That evening, it was as Pixie Bob said, they, Class 1A, had to cook their own meals. Noticing that Koda wasn't there, Izuku eventually found Koda, who says, go away, it's stupid to improve your quirk just to show it off. Your parents were the late water hose heroes, weren't they? Izuku says, I don't get why people call themselves heroes or villains just to kill each other. Says Koda, making Izuku realize it isn't heroes he doesn't like, it's hero society he doesn't like. Izuku thinks and says, I have this quirkless friend of mine. His dream was to be a hero. Why? Because he saw heroes overcome impossible odds, just like he had to overcome to accomplish anything. That's why he looked up to heroes. Kota, still angry, refutes Izuku until he leaves, but not before leaving Kota some food. The next day, Izuku asks Aizawa, "Is All Might coming?" "No." Aizawa answers back, making Shoto ask Izuku, "Why do you want All Might here?" "Because I want him to inspire Kota, just like how he inspired me." Izuku answers, only for Shoto to ask, "And how did he do that?" "With his actions, oh." Izuku said with understandment. Pixie Bob announces that tonight, after training, you will be going through a test of courage. That night, while during the test of courage when a fire starts in the forest, fearing for Kota, Izuku leaves the test of courage to go find Kota, both unaware that a villain has already found him, Muscular. Kota recalls Mandalay telling him that, "One day, you'll understand why heroes exist." Back in the present, Mandalay tells everybody telepathically 2 villains have entered the camp, and more will likely to follow. Kota receives Mandalay's message, but is paralyzed with fear from the villain, Muscular, as he was the one who killed Kota's parents. Just as Muscular is about to crush Kota, Izuku, as Tiger Stripes, super punches Muscular. While he is down, Izuku, wanting to know what the villains are after, quickly says, "Daisy, rejoice." Gift. Pig. He wore a dark pink mask, dark pink with pink inside fake pig ears, a pink chest plate with a dark pink pig's nose on the center part of the design. Underneath, he wore a dark pink shirt. He wore a pink belt with a piece of confetti attached to the back in the shape of a tail. Dark pink shorts, really dark pink bracelets in the shape of bubble gum ran down his arms and legs. Pink gloves with a dark pink pig's nose as part of the design on the back of the hand, and pink boots. The gift that manifested was a picture of Katsuki, allowing Izuku to know that the villains were after Katsuki. Muscular got back up and punched Izuku, who took the blow as he was Oxford, and then he transformed into Honeycomb and used venom on Muscular, which paralyzed him. They, Kota and Izuku, then left him Muscular, like that. On their way back to camp, Kota asks Izuku, "Why did you risk everything to save me?" "Because that's what heroes do. They put everything on the line to protect people, to keep their promises." Izuku said. Kota now understood what Mandalay was talking about, how he'll one day know why heroes exist, because he did now thanks to Izuku. They, Kota and Izuku, then reached Aizawa, who Izuku handed Kota off to and said, "I have to find Mandalay to give her a message to give to everyone else. I need her to send a message that she needs to send to my own." Aizawa said, and then told Izuku the message. He then detransformed, freeing Muscular, and fed the kwamis so he could use their powers for later. He then ran into Mandalay, about to be attacked by Spinner's sword, and transforms into Retriever and uses Fetch to get the sword just in time to save Mandalay, and then fights Spinner and easily wins with his miraculous, empowered strength. He gives Mandalay his and Aizawa's messages to telepathically tell the others, "The villains are after Katsuki. Also, you have permission to use your quirks." Kota cries for not telling Izuku he's sorry about kicking him and that he's Kota's hero. Izuku runs through the forest, looking for Katsuki when he is attacked by Dark Shadow. Luckily, it is no cell by Izuku being in his Oxford form. As Izuku and Mizo face off against Dark Shadow, Izuku questions, "How did Dark Shadow get out of control?" "It was because I got injured, don't worry, it was one of my duplicate body parts." Dark Shadow now only responds to sounds. "We can either save Katsuki or stop Dark Shadow. We can't do both." Mizo says, only for Izuku to say, "What if we could do?" "You said Dark Shadow only responds to sound, right? We can use that to our advantage by having Dark Shadow follow us by making noise and have it attack whatever is attacking Katsuki. And if no one is attacking Katsuki, it'll attack Katsuki, who will have to defend himself." "Izuku, you're a genius." Mizo said. Mizo and Izuku, executed the plan flawlessly with Dark Shadow attacking Katsuki's attacker, Moonfish, by grabbing him and putting him down. "Now use your quirks to tame Dark Shadow." Mizo said. Shoto was about to comply when Katsuki said, "Wait until after Dark Shadow defeats him," referring to Moonfish. if it doesn't bother you. That's when Moonfish attacked Dark Shadow, who broke off Moonfish's teeth and launches him through the forest. They, Katsuki and Shoto, then use their quirks on Dark Shadow, which calmed it down. Fumikage then says, "Thank you for bringing the light to my darkness. I apologize for letting it get out of control. Guys, we need to protect Katsuki and get it back to camp." Izuku says, only for Katsuki to say, "I don't need protection, I mean thank you." They, Izuku, Mizo, Fumikage, Shoto, and Katsuki, started going back to camp, where they run into Achiko and Thayu being attacked by Himiko, who leaves realizing she's been outnumbered. Izuku asks the Achiko and Tsuyu to join in with the group and help protect Katsuki, but both he and Fumikage have mysteriously disappeared. Mr. Compress reveals himself and the fact that it was he who took them, Katsuki and Fumikage, with saying, "It is I who took them. They should be cast in their rightful roles as villains." Shoto then attacks Mr. Compress with Shoto's ice, but the villain is too fast for him, and Mr. Compress jumps through the trees to escape. He then contacts his allies and tells them, "I have Katsuki in my custody. We need to regroup at the escape point." Izuku transforms into monkey madness, then jumps himself. Mizo and Shoto using his miraculous agility and strength. They, Izuku, Shoto, and Mizo, use Mizo arms to glide them, then crash into Mr. Compress and hold him down. Izuku then says uproar and touches Mr. Compress with the object it created, a stuffed bone, causing Mr. Compress Quirk to deactivate, releasing all he had turned into marbles. This includes Katsuki, who they then grab. That's when Izuku says, "Who else but some?" Realizing they, the villains, have been beat and are outnumbered, when Kirojari arrives to transport them. They leave without a fight, much to the students' their relief. At the hospital, Class 1, it was visiting Momo. Izuku called his mother and said to her, "Hi, Mom. Look, I know you're worried. I was worried, but ultimately no one got hurt or worse. I guess I should thank your kwamis and teachers for that. Even though they lead to this situation, they're the reason no one got hurt. So, I can't help but be thankful for that / them." Inko said, "Thank you, Mom." Izuku said, then hung up. All Might faces down All For One, and All Might tells All For One, "I'm going to beat you and put you away for life." All Might rushes All For One, who tries to defend with an enhanced core combo, but All Might easily go through it and punches All For One in the face, breaking off a piece of his mask. All For One tells Tamura to get Kirojiri and flee this battle. He then activates Kirojiri's warp gate and warps all the villains from there except himself. All Might then punches All For One again, causing shockwaves and breaking off more of All For One's mask. All For One then says, "No, this isn't how it's supposed to go. You were supposed to give your quirk to that quirkless boy, not for him to suddenly gain a quirk on his own and not receive one for all. You killed my dream. You keep killing my dream, and now I'm going to kill yours. I'm going to kill you before you find a successor. No, I will live to find a successor." All Might says, All For One then warps Gran Torino in front of All Might's next attack, who quickly recovers and grabs Gran Torino before All Might unleashes a Detroit Smash to counter All For One's spring-like limbs quirk. "You're holding back for bystanders. That will be your downfall." All For One says, "I will not let your disrespect of the common man continue." All Might says, and then crushes All For One's helmet with a powerful strike. All For One taunts All Might, "You're too similar to your weak mentor, Nana." This got All Might furious, so much so that he strikes with anger, leaving him open to attack, an attack All For One did with an air cannon blast, almost blasting All Might into a news helicopter. Luckily, Gran Torino catches All Might before he does. Gran Torino then scolds All Might by saying, "This is exactly what happened last time. I had thought you learned. I feel conflicted about landing the finale blow against Hero Society after my protege worked so hard to ruin it. Do you know who he is? He's your mentor's, Nana's grandson." All For One said, much to All Might's horror. All For One charges up another attack. Gran Torino orders All Might to evade, but the villain aims for a nearby civilian trapped underneath debris. All Might defends the civilian by taking the brunt of All For One's air cannon. Heroes have too much to protect to lose. All Might then charges up one for all into his right hand, while still being in his buff form. Endeavor and Edgeshot rush in to back up their ally. All for One tries to attack Endeavor, but Edgeshot rushes in to stop him. Kamui Woods arrives and rescues the injured pro heroes. He commends MT Lady for her efforts. Annoyed with the heroes, Edgeshot and Endeavor, resistance, All for One blows Edgeshot and Endeavor away. Then All for One uses his ultimate combination of quirks to create a powerful arm. In his left arm, he plans to crush All Might with. They, All for One and All Might, punch clash, with All Might being the victor for not only the punch clash, but for the battle with All for One. I'm retiring to find my successor, so I leave you the heroes of tomorrow to be that successor. All of you plus Ultra. All Might said. All Might, what did All for One mean when he said you should have given your power? A news reporter asked All Might, who said, he meant my power as in my time. As I said, I'm looking for a successor, someone who I can unlock a power similar to my own. Who did he want you to give that to? The reporter asked, only for All Might to answer, someone who was quirkless at the time, but has since unlocked his power and is on the road to becoming a fine hero. Do you have anyone in mind for becoming your successor? The reporter asked, only for All Might to answer, yes, I do. So don't anyone come to my door, hoping to be my successor. I don't see why not to let my Izuku go to and stay at these Hideout dorms. Inko said to All Might and Aizawa, well then that's settled. All Might said, they, All Might and Aizawa, then left the Midoriya home. Aizawa meets with Class 1A outside of the dorms, Heights Alliance, and says, you must prepare to get your provisional hero licenses like we had planned to during the training camp. Aizawa then shows the students around the dorms, and then he leaves. The next day in class, Aizawa says your next challenge will be obtaining your provisional hero license, but the exam will be difficult. It only has a 50% passing rate. So that's why you will be spending your time in my class working on your ultimate moves. They Class 1A each got an ectoplasm clone to watch over them and give them pointers. Izuku instructed his ectoplasm clone to throw a ball at random directions at Izuku, which Izuku would catch with Chariot's portal and send it to hit a target. At least he tried to do that. First, he had trouble catching the ball with the portal. Next, he had trouble having it actually hit the target, but he, after 4 days of practicing, succeeded. That's when some rubble went straight at All Might, who then easily hit it. On the morning of the Provisional Hero License exam, they, Class 1A, arrive at where they will take their Provisional Hero License exam, which is at National Dagoba Arena. Minoru is nervous about getting his license, which is when Aizawa encourages his students by saying, do you best, and if you get your Provisional Hero License, you'll be semi-pro. Aijiro gets hyped up and initiates a plus ultra chant, but is interrupted when Inasa Yurashi appears and chants it himself plus ultra. Inasa's classmate, Seiji Shishikura, tells him that you shouldn't barge in like that. Inasa apologizes by slamming his head into the ground and loudly proclaims that, I'm sorry. Aizawa immediately recognizes Inasa as a first-year student out of Shiketsu High School. Inasa loudly claims, I love you to the high school, and wanted to say plus ultra just once in my lifetime. Aizawa tells his class that Inasa got the best scores of those admitted to UA through recommendations, but he turned down his acceptance. Izuku is surprised to learn that Inasa is a first year whose abilities are supposedly above that of Shoto's. Tatama Nakagame and Yo Shindo excitedly greet Class 1A. Yo introduces himself individually to some students, but Katsuki brushes him off, doubting Yo's sincerity in his words. Tatami asks Shoto for his autograph, having watched him perform at the UA Sports Festival. Aizawa tells his students to get ready for the exam. The exam participants congregate in a large, rectangular room. Yakumaru Mera, a worker from the Hero Public Safety Commission, addresses the students. He begins by telling the students how tired he is and how the commission is understaffed. Yakumaru explains that the exam is a free-for-all. Heroes respond to crises extremely quickly nowadays, and as a result, you guys will be tested on speed. To accomplish this, only the first 100 students out of the 1540 gathered who are taking the exam will complete the first test, will move on to the next one. Each of you has 6 red ball and 3 targets to attach to your bodies where they are visible to others. You guys must hit other students' targets. Once a student has all of their targets hit, they are out, and whoever attached the 3rd ball claims the defeat. You guys need to eliminate 2 students to move on to the next phase of the exam. The rectangular room unfolds and reveals the large arena with varying environments. Yakumaru attributes his tiredness to the work spent on the elaborate terrain reveal. Everyone from the different classes aimed a ball at Class 1A and threw. Izuku then transformed into tiger stripes while keeping his targets on him and super punched the ball away. He then transformed into mice twice while still keeping his targets on him and shrunk down with the ball and the targets while multiplying himself, the ball and the targets, hoping that it still counted as ousting someone no matter the size of the ball. To his relief, he found out that yes, it still counted no matter the size of the ball and ousted 30 people, landing him 10th to go to the next round. While waiting for the next match, Izuku detransform, merging all the Izukus together and returning to normal size, and feed the kwamis he used so far. The next and finale round will involve rescue operations. Izuku is excited by the prospect of saving people. The ones who have passed the first phase of the exam are tasked with rescuing members of the Help Us Company who are trapped in the disaster zone. They're a group of professionals who have trained to act as citizens in need of rescuing. They've dressed up as injured people and put themselves in situations for the students to rescue them. Izuku believes this scenario was inspired by the one during the Kamino incident. Tenya says there were many casualties that day. Izuku states, "We will need to do our best." The exam begins, and he transforms into Cluck Chuck, and hoping to help us company counted his teammates, said, "New Dawn," which didn't do anything, Well, that was a stretch. He then went to help the others in helping by transforming into 9 and destroying a piece of rubble that was pinning down some of the Help Us Company. Then he transformed into Ramhead and making a box of Band-Aids and treating the rescued fake injuries. That's when the faux villain gang Orca showed up. Izuku debated between staying here and helping heal the injured or between going to fight gang Orca and hoping the item he created didn't disappear when he detransformed. It did anyways, but the Help Us Company told Izuku it was okay, and that did not deduct points from him and transformed into tiger stripes. Yo tells Izuku to evacuate the first aid station, which Izuku does, while Yo defends it from Gang Orca using his Quirk Earthquake, but is eventually paralyzed by Gang Orca. Shoto then tries attacking Gang Orca with his eyes, but is stopped by a sonic attack by Gang Orca, which destroys the ice. That's when Izuku returns and Inasa arrives. Izuku tries to attack with a super punch, but it is destroyed by Gang Orca using his sonic attack. Inasa and Shoto try to attack at the same time, but each move cancels each other out. They, Inasa and Shoto, blame each other for this. Shoto tries to explain that Gang Orca destroyed my eyes with his sonic attack. "Don't lie to me. You're just trying to hog the glory." Inasa says, only for Shoto to argue back, "I'm not," only to be interrupted by him being hit by one of Gang Orca's sidekicks, Cement Gun. Luckily, Shoto put up an ice wall in time. That's when Gang Orca says, "It's outrageous for you two to be fighting during this." Izuku then turns into Moon Rabbit and makes him super heavy. Shoto and Inasa try to attack during this, but again, each attack is nullified by each other. Inasa then explains that heroes are supposed to be passionate, but you and his father have too much hate in your hearts and come off as cold rather than hot-spirited. Shoto tries to ignore Inasa and focus on the test, but Shoto realizes he still has some residual hate for his father despite reuniting with his mother and moving on past his grudge. Yakumaru, Gang Orca, and some of the proctors are clearly disappointed with the two top students' decision-making. Inasa and Shoto once again use their quirks at the same time and miss. Only this time they put Yo in danger. Luckily, Izuku arrives in time to save him. Angry with his friend's lack of focus, Izuku sternly questions Shoto, "What do you think you're doing?" Inasa describes the look in both their eyes like they're hating something ahead of them. Shoto finally realizes that Inasa was at the entrance exams, and the only reason he didn't remember immediately is that he didn't even bother looking at him. This makes Shoto surmise that I can't simply bury and forget about my past because it's resurfacing right now. Gang Orca then surprise attacks Inasa while he's dodging the cement guns. Then he paralyzes Shoto with the same hypersonic wave attack. It doesn't have quite as strong of an effect on Inasa because it was used at long range, but it's enough to immobilize him. The sidekicks rush to attack the evacuation effort. Inasa realizes that my hate has made me become the type of hero I dislike. Shoto knows that his past mistakes have put him in this situation. Both of them, Shoto and Inasa, decide they need to make up for their mistakes. Yo recovers and uses tremors to keep the villains back. He explains that my brain is used to being shaken because of my quirk, so Gang Orca's earlier attack didn't have as much of an effect as it should have. Yo was planning to use that to surprise the number 10 hero, but the Shoto and Inasa got in the way. He tells Izuku who's forced to detransform. Thus his power is cancelled, to split up and help rescue the remaining evacuees. Gang Orca goes to finish off Inasa. Shoto knows that he can't become a top hero competing with others in vain without teamwork. He stakes the battle on whether Inasa feels the same way and unleashes his flames at their full power. Inasa combines his wind with the fire, and they manage to trap Gang Orca inside a spiral of fire. Gang Orca states that you guys' combination attack won't make up for your foolishness, but your attack is a good one. He knows they're both trying to make up for their mistakes and commends them for it. His sidekicks know that he's weak to extreme heat, and they attack Shoto while he's on the ground. Shoto is able to use his ice at the same time to defend himself because his body can't move. Izuku, using Dragon Fu's lightning dragon power, and Mashireo stop the sidekicks from helping Gang Orca. Mashireo confirms all the injured have been evacuated and reinforcements will arrive soon. Yakumaru states, you guys have just 3 HUC people to rescue before the exam ends. Nagamasa, Mora, Fumikage, Mina, and Tsu arrive to help suppress the villains. Gang Orca commends Shoto and Inasa on their hot wind prison and claims a normal villain would submit. However, Gang Orca tells them that you guys need to plan ahead after playing your hand. He uses water to cool himself off and then blasts apart the flaming twister using sonic waves. He asks what are you guys going to do now and prepares to finish them, Inasa and Shoto, off. Izuku saves them by transforming into monkey madness and using what Uproar has manifested, a stuffed turkey toy, to get rid of Gang Orca's power, who because of that is reverted back to a normal human. Then the test suddenly ends after Denki and Aijiro rescue the last of the HUC employees. Everybody but Shoto, Inasa, and Kami gets their hero license. That night, while alone, Katsuki asks Izuku, you got your core from someone else, didn't you? Don't worry, I'm not mad, nor will I tell. No, I didn't. The truth is much more complicated than that. Izuku said, then told Katsuki the truth about where Izuku really got the powers, the kwamis, all of it, and just to prove it, Katsuki let him transform with one, the cat Miraculous, and try out its power. After Katsuki detransformed and gave back the Miraculous, he said, so, you weren't lying then. Huh, so magic does exist, but why tell me? Because you changed Katsuki, I thought you'd deserve a reward for it. Izuku said, only for Katsuki to say, thanks to what Shoto said, I should really be thanking him. He deserves it, and Izuku, you deserve this. You really do. Oh, Katsuki. Izuku said, only for Katsuki to say, hey, don't go getting all sappy on me now, and don't worry, I'll keep your secret. So will we, said Nizu over the intercom. How did he? Izuku, only for Nizu to say over the intercom, these dorms have cameras all over them which the teachers have access to, and I can lip read. I have already informed the other teachers of this new development. Don't worry, I already scrubbed the footage, so no one else can know, but I suggest from now on for you to be more careful. Oh great, this is bad. In the teacher's lounge, the teacher were talking about this new development. What should we do about this? Snipe asked, only for Midnight to say, it's obvious what we should do. We should take all but one Miraculous from him. No one should have all that power. You were okay with it when you thought it was a quirk. Nizu said, only for Midnight to say that's different. And how is it different now? Nizu said, only to leave midnight stumped. I see, and I assume that no one else has any objections about this. Nisa said, and then looked around to find none. He then said, good, good. Then he gets to keep his miraculous then. All the teachers agreed. Today we will be talking about work studies. Work studies are like internships, except they're longer and you'll be treated like a sidekick rather than an intern. Tomorrow I'll introduce you to the students who have benefited the most from work studies. The next day, like he said, he introduced them, Class 1A, to the three who not only benefited the most out of work studies, but were also the big three, the three most likely to be top heroes. Their names are Mirio Togata, Tamaki Amajiki, and Nijire Hado. Aizawa says, introduce yourselves, you three. You Tamaki go first. But for only Tamaki to cower in fear in the corner. Only for Nijire to say, oh, but don't mind him. He's shy. My name is Nijire Hado. My cowering friend over there is Tamaki Amajiki, and workplace studies are... Oh, you guys are so interesting. You frog girl, what kind of frog are you? You mask, what's with the mask? Mirio tells a joke to break the ice, but it falls due to everyone already understanding the joke. They, the class, start to wonder, why does such esteemed students have such weird personalities? They all thought the best way for you to learn about workplace studies is to fight me, all of you at the same time. Mirio said. Everyone moves to Gym Gamma and fights him. The fight begins with Izuku transforming into monkey madness and using Uproar, which was a stuffed ham toy, and Mirio phasing off his clothes. This left him open to attack, only for him to disappear and reappear behind them everyone. The class believes he has a rap quirk. Mirio attacks all long-range fighters, taking down half the class, including Izuku. Izuku, using his last bit of will, to transforms into Cluck Chuck and uses New Dawn on all who've been taken down, but it's no use as Mirio simply takes them down once again and then does the same thing to the close-range fighters, which is the rest of the class. Having taken down everybody, Mirio stands victorious and says to everybody, I'm sorry about being naked. It comes with my quirk. So, do you guys have a better understanding of workplace studies? What could we have possibly learned? All we did was get beat up. The class responds, only for Mirio to answer that I got this good because of workplace studies. You see, my quirk is called permeation. It allows me to go through anything, but when I use it, everything goes through me, sight, air, you name it except for gravity. That still affects me, and you can even imagine what that's like. It was thanks to work studies that I got it to be something useful with it like that, something I can use to help people. No, save people. Thanks to workplace studies, I can do that. So that's why workplace studies are important. Aizawa asks the class to thank them, referring to the big three. Before they go, Nijire asks Mirio, did anyone stand out to you? Yeah, that Izuku kid. I wonder what will become of him once Sir gets his hands on Izuku. Mirio responds. Izuku was about to walk out of the gym when Mirio came up to him and offered a workplace study with All Might's old sidekick, Sir Nighteye, which Izuku accepts. That weekend, Izuku goes with Mirio to Sir Nighteye's agency. Mirio warns Izuku that if you want to make a good first impression, then you better make him, referring to Sir Nighteye. Laugh? I would do it if I were you. Izuku walks into Sir Nighteye's office alone, only to find him using a tickling machine to tickle Bubble Girl. Sir Nighteye then glares at Izuku, who transforms into Spot-a-Bug and uses Lucky Charm, which grants him a pillow. You want me to tickle Sir Nighteye? Izuku said, immediately getting what the Lucky Charm meant. So, you trying to use your power to make me laugh? Well then, let's make this an even fight. Sir Nighteye said as he looked into Izuku's eyes and touched him. What are you? Izuku asked as he broke the pillow and tried to tickle Sir Nighteye with one of the feathers, but at the last moment Sir Nighteye moved backwards, avoiding the feather. Izuku tried several more times with his extra agility, granted by the Miraculous, to touch Sir Nighteye with the feather, but he evaded each time. Izuku then went to jumping off the walls and ceiling to accomplish his task, but Sir Nighteye evaded still. Eventually, he had to de-transform. The pillow along with the feathers went with it, and that's when Sir Nighteye said, I win. What a pitiful display you've shown me. Is it? Because during that whole time, I did not damage or even touch any part of your All Might collection. Sir Nighteye looked around and found that Izuku was indeed correct in his statement, much to Sir Nighteye's amazement. I gotta admit, kid, I'm impressed by what you showcased here. I'll allow you in my agency despite the fact you didn't make me laugh. Sir Nighteye said, only for Izuku to say, thank you, sir. Whoa, that was some display, kid. No one ever gets in without making him laugh. Mirio said, that night at the dorms, Izuku tells his friends that he was accepted and they, his friends, congratulate him. The next day, Izuku and Mirio patrol. While on patrol, Izuku runs into a scared, damaged little girl, Eri. Izuku is confused by her condition, only to look up in surprise and to find the leader of the Shie Hassaikai, Overhaul. Eri, come back to me. I am sorry about my daughter. What's with the mask? Mirio asks, only for Overhaul to answer, I hate germs. What agency do you two belong to? We're just a couple of kids on our internships. Mirio says who tries to leave with Izuku, but Eri culches onto Izuku harder. Despite Mirio clearly trying to avoid creating more suspicion, Izuku refuses to simply leave Eri behind. Izuku believes it's even more suspicious for a hero to leave a trembling girl behind. Choosing to ignore Mirio, Izuku acts as a hero and demands to know from Overhaul, what have you been doing to this girl? Overhaul says, I will explain if you guys follow me down the alley. Eri responds to Overhaul's killing intent and runs back to him, leaving Izuku behind. Mirio reveals Eri's intent to Izuku and says, we should ask Sir Nighteye what to do next. After Eri and Overhaul leave, Mirio calls Sir Nighteye and tells him we had made contact with the head of the Shie Hassaikai, Overhaul. Sir Nighteye, Bubble Girl, Izuku, and Mirio regroup. I'm sorry, this is my fault. Sir Nighteye says, only for Mirio to say we found out that he has a daughter who looked injured. We must save her. I can make a portal to her now and do it. Izuku said, only for Sir Nighteye to say, what, you can make a portal to someone without knowing their location? Yes, why? Make a portal to Shie Hassaikai's headquarters. Oh, and do so without being seen. Izuku did just that, allowing them to know the location of the headquarters. 2 days later, Izuku, Ijiro, Achiko, and Tiu leave for their workplace studies but end up going the same way, to Sir Nighteye's agency, much to their surprise. Eventually, they meet up with the big three at Sir Nighteye's agency. What are you guys doing at my workplace study? Izuku asks. Our workplace mentors told us to meet here. Ijiro, Achiko, Tiu, and the big three, except for Mirio, said at the same time. To their, Ijiro, Achiko, Izuku, Tiu, and the big three, further surprised they are heroes at the meeting at Sir Nighteye's agency like Fat Gum, Ryukyu, Gran Torino, Rocklock, Kesajiri Man, Mr. Brave, and even Eraserhead. Nighteye asks Ryukyu what's going on, and Ryukyu reminds her trainees that we've been included in a special case, remember. Sir Nighteye's sidekicks explained, we've been trailing the Shie Hassaikai ever since their fight against the League of Villains, and recently we found out their base of operations. No need to interrupt you, but why are kids here? They're slower to understand stations like this. Rocklock said, only for Fat Gum to say, my kid Sun Eater is the reason that we now know what they're making, Quirk destroying bullets. Don't worry, he got his Quirk back, but they might make ones which the Quirk doesn't. That what my Quirk does, except the Quirk always comes back. Aizawa said, only for Sir Nighteye to explain that the Shie Hassaikai are responsible for the drags and drags trafficking rings, such as Quirk enhancers. The Quirk-canceling bullet contained BLD and cell samples. Fat Gum said, only for Sir Nighteye to add, Lemillion and Miraculous Deku encountered Overhaul's daughter who was covered with bandages, if you know what I'm saying. Everyone at the meeting, especially Izuku and Mirio, realized what Sir Nighteye meant. Both Mirio and Izuku say in unison that we will save and protect that girl. We swear on it. We will need to collect solid evidence before we can strike. That's why I called all of you here to do that. And once we do, we'll team up and stop the Shie Hassaikai. Sir Nighteye said, only for Aizawa to say, use your foresight ability to gather that information. No, I might see someone's death, and, as you know, once I see something, it'll come true. At lunch the next day, noticing Izuku's discomfort, Tenya says, "If you ever need to talk about something, I am here because I am your friend." Tenya's kind words bring Izuku to tears until he remembers that heroes don't cry. "Thank you for your support." Izuku says to Tenya, only for Shoto to say, "Sometime even heroes must cry." They, Tenya and Shoto, then share some of their food with Izuku, who gladly accepts. 2 days later, at night, they, the heroes working on the Shie Hassaikai case, finally get the evidence they need to convict the Shie Hassaikai. Once everyone is at Sir Nighteye's agency. "We have the evidence we need to convict the Shie Hassaikai. We already got a warrant for their arrest," Sir Nighteye explains, which gets back Mirio's energetic personality, and he tries to encourage Izuku, which pleases him and the classmates of both of them. The next morning at 8:30 a.m., the heroes and police force are outside the Shie Hassaikai's headquarters and commence the operation. One of the police officers goes to press the intercom to read the warrant to the Shie Hassaikai, when suddenly Katsuki bursts through the gate, sending some policemen flying, but are quickly rescued by Eraserhead and Miraculous Deku as Tiger Stripes. Rocklock wonders, "I wonder if the Shie Hassaikai knew about our arrival." Rikia demands to know, "What's the reason for your presence?" and prepares to punch them with his overgrown muscles. Ryukyu transforms into her dragon form and intercepts the punch with her draconian claw to quickly knock down Rikia. Ryukyu assures her agency can deal with the villain and asks the other groups to rush to the hideout. The other Yakuza members don't back down, and a battle ensues outside the hideout. While the minor heroes hold them off, Sir Nighteye leads the main charge to the entrance. Mr. Brave, Kesajiri Man, and the other minor heroes help the police hold off the massive group of Yakuza thugs resisting them. Sir Nighteye leads the others inside the hideout, and Eraserhead explains the extreme loyalty between members of the Yakuza. Sir Nighteye finds a hidden panel and uses his foresight to deduce the proper code, opening a pathway to the underground labyrinth. Suddenly, more Yakuza thugs appear from underground. Centipeder and Bubble Girl act quickly to subdue them, allowing Nighteye and the others to proceed. They, the main group, quickly run into a blockade that impedes their path through the underground maze. Mirio uses his quirk to slip through the wall and confirms it was a hastily created blockade made by Overhaul's quirk. Miraculous Deku and Red Riot, Ijuro, use their powers, Tiger Stripes Clout and Hardening respectively, to break down the wall, but they're impeded yet again. Mimic uses Trigger to enhance his quirk and merges with the walls, contorting and twisting the walls to make the pathway difficult to navigate. Tamaki panics and believes they won't be able to move forward, but Mirio encourages him and goes on ahead by himself. Mimic's quirk can do little to halt Mirio, so he leaves him be. Meanwhile, Miraculous Deku, who has de-transformed and fed Roar so he can use her power again, and Red Riot worry about Tamaki by both saying, "Is Sun Eater alright?" Fat Gum tells them to believe in Sun Eater, and Ijiro decides he must keep trust in Tamaki. Eraserhead notes Mimic's lack of activity and theorizes that Mimic can only use his quirk in one area at a time. Currently, he appears to be focused on the police upstairs. Underground, Mimic targets Eraserhead and strikes him using the wall. Fat Gum and Red Riot pushes Eraser out of the way in time and is trusted into a tunnel that leads to a dark room deeper underground. Back with Nighteye's group runs into Mimic's twisting walls again. Rocklock uses his Deadbolt super move to lock down the area around them in order to avoid being crushed by Mimic. Iranaka, Mimic, continues to send stone walls at the heroes, but Izuku as Tiger Stripes fights back by crushing the walls using Clout. Mimic realizes he has reinforcements and decides to separate all the heroes into using the walls. Miraculous Deku, who have de-transformed again and Feds roar again, and Eraserhead are together. Nighteye is with the police, and Rocklock is alone. Rocklock is ambushed by Himiko and quickly dispatched after he's distracted by a double of her. Himiko stabs the hero and reveals that she's Himiko the gangster now, and not with the League of Villains. Eraserhead notices the noise from the other side of the wall, and Miraculous Deku turns into 9 and destroys the wall. Himiko transforms herself into Rocklock, but Aizawa quickly sees through her ruse before she can attack Izuku. Eraser uses his erasure to destroy Himiko's disguise, but she still attempts to attack Izuku. Eraserhead stops her with his scarf, but she counters and stabs him in the back before escaping thanks to another wall from Mimic. Aizawa is surprised to see the League of Villains working with the Shie Hassaikai. Mimic snaps and drags everyone deeper underground as he tries to crush both heroes and villains using his ability. Himiko taunts Mimic and gets him riled up. He screams out with frustration, giving his location away to Miraculous Deku and the other heroes. They try to pinpoint it while avoiding Mimic's rage-induced attacks. Toga baits Mimic into letting out a loud scream after she insults the Yakuza once again. Miraculous Deku, as Ramhead, creates a rocket launcher to break the roof open, revealing Mimic's body. Eraserhead nullifies Mimic's quirk, forcing him to fall down. Sir Nighteye knocks him unconscious by throwing one of his hyperdensity seals at Mimic, and Izuku catches him before he crashes into ground. Sir Nighteye realizes the League betrayed Mimic and says that, "We have been used." Izuku, as Tiger Stripes, uses clout to break open a wall to join in the battle between Overhaul and a powerless Mirio, who has Eri. Tiger Stripes immediately punches Overhaul with his miraculous enhanced strength, not the superpower, which sends Overhaul flying away. Eraserhead seals Overhaul's quirk and asks Nighteye to see to the wounded. Nighteye realizes that Mirio has defeated nearly half the 8 bullets and injured Overhaul all by himself. He embraces his protege and commends him for a job well done while securing Eri as well. With his quirk erased, Overhaul is pushed into a corner and yells for Chrono to wake up. Chronostasis actives his quirk of the same name and cuts Eraserhead's arm. The hero was trying to save his student, but now his body moves slower as a result of Chrono's power. Overhaul managed to heal Hari during their fight with Mirio. The aid to the young boss meant to skewer both heroes at once, but Eraser is able to push Miraculous Deku, who is detransformed, away at the last moment. Forced to blink, Eraser's power wears off on Overhaul. The masked villain creates a fissure of spikes that fill the battleground. Irate, Overhaul refuses to allow his plans to end here. He merges with Shin Nemoto to heal both of their wounds and assumes a monstrous new form. He admits that Lemillion was the stronger man. However, it was all for nothing. Armed with 4 new arms, Overhaul demands the heroes return Eri. That's when Izuku turns into Monkey Madness and hits the Overhaul fusion with the thing Uproar has created, a stuffed unicorn, affecting both men's quirks and unfusing them. Monkey Madness easily defeats Shin Nemoto with his miraculous enhanced strength and agility and knocks him out. Now the only one standing between Izuku and victory is Overhaul, who despite having no quirk is still super strong and a good fighter and manages to withhold until Izuku has detransformed, meaning both men have their power back. Lemillion, fight with me, Izuku says, and to get hit with the floor, Overhaul moved with his quirk, only for Mirio to say, "I can't, I lost my quirk." In Izuku, fleeting moment of consciousness, he transformed in a Cluck Chuck and used that form's power to heal Mirio, returning him his quirk, and then said, "You healed," then passed out. Overhaul then attacked Mirio with the floor, but Mirio simply phased through it and hit him. Overhaul tried to fight back by touching Mirio, which would have resulted in him disappearing like Mr. Compress's arm. But Mirio simply went right through it and kicked him. Knowing he was in a losing battle, Overhaul gave up. Overhaul and the Shie Hassaikai were arrested, and no one got severe injuries except for Sir Nighteye, who was impaled with one of the spikes. He and All Might talked one last on that boy Izuku, changed the future, and brought back Mirio's quirk. He's a fine successor. Sir Nighteye said, only for All Might to say, he's not my successor. What? Sir Nighteye said, only for All Might to say, he's not my successor. But he changed the future. Sir Nighteye said, only for All Might to say, I know how important that is for you, but I can't give it to him. Why? It's not because of what All for One said, is it? Sir Nighteye said, only for All Might to say, "No," and it's not even because I already found a successor. It's because giving it to him while he has that much power already would be overkill. I'm sorry, sir, I just can't. I know it makes sense now. Can you at least tell me who you'd choose? I promise I won't judge. I know now that my opinion isn't always the right one. Sir Nighteye said, only for All Might to whisper in his ear what him, but he at the sports festival. Sir Nighteye was interrupted from his rant when All Might said, "You said you wouldn't judge, besides he changed since then? He the most improved player, and that's not even talking into account his amazing quirk. It'll mash well with One for All. I never saw you this determined about anything in a long time. If you believe in this kid, then I do." Sir Nighteye said, only for All Might to say thank you, sir, and goodbye. Goodbye. Sir Nighteye said, then died. All of Class 1 could do a hero work recommendation project, which is them serving as their own agency at Nabu Island, where they won't get help from any heroes, because they aren't any heroes there. At their agency, they're helping with various tasks around the island, even Katsuki, who lit a fire for someone whose electricity gone out, and put on a show for the kids. That's when the agency gets a call from a little girl, Mahoro, about her little brother, Katsuma, being lost. Izuku turns in a chariot and portals Kyoka there, where she finds out it was a test from Mahoro to test the hero's reaction time. Later at night, they get a call about a monster attack, which Izuku takes portaling himself there. He about to attack the giant mantis, the monster, as tiger stripes when he notices it has no shadow. Realizing it's a fake, Izuku says, "Whoever's doing this, come out. I promise I won't get made." That's when Mahoro comes out. "It's you, the girl Kyoka told me about earlier today. Is this another one of your tests?" Izuku says, only for Mahoro to say, "Yes, and you failed. You were supposed to attack the monster like a hero, so I could gauge your attacking method. Isn't it better for me that I found out it was fake, so I didn't waste any firing power I could have used on a real baddie?" Izuku said. Mahoro couldn't refute that statement. "Come on, let's get you two home." Izuku said, and did just that, get them home. The next day, Katsuma comes to apologize for what his sister did, with Katsuki overhearing. "I'm sorry about what my sister did. You see, I want to be a hero, and my sister doesn't want that as she says it's dangerous, but I don't care because I still want to be a hero." This reminds Izuku of how his mother is with him. Katsuma leaves. Later, the villains Nine, Mummy, Slice, and Chimera attack the harbor and cut off the phone lines to the outside world. Eventually, word of this reaches the agency. Should we get a hero's help? I can make a portal right now to one. Izuku says, only for Tenya to say, "No. The teacher strictly said we are on our own. We'll use your teleport a hero to us plan as a last resort." Meanwhile, Katsuma and Mahoro went away from the fighting and towards their home, only to bump into Nine, who has destroyed it. Using one of his quirks, Quirk Scan, to scan the kids' quirks, and finds out one of them, Katsuma, has the quirk he needs. Just before he takes it, that's when Sherrick comes through a portal and grabs the kids and escapes through the forest area. Izuku, as Tiger Stripes, uses clout on Nine, who defends himself from it with an airwall quirk. Izuku then transforms into Oxford and uses resistance to get past the wall and attacks with his mallet. With his miraculous enhanced strength, he knocks out Nine and then takes him to Momo, who creates Quirk nullifies HNECFFS for him, to where which he does, and turns over Nine and Mummy to the police. The next day, Slice and Chimera attack the police station, but Class 1A is there to defend it. Izuku, as Ramhead, creates a rocket launcher and uses it to launch a rocket at Slice, who slices it up. Then Izuku, as Honeycomb, tries to hit her with venom, but during Slice's slicing and defense, he hits one of her hairs, paralyzing her. Meanwhile, with Chimera, who breathes fire at the class, but Shoto creates an ice wall that not only defends them from the blast, but destroys the fire and freezes Chimera. Momo creates a quirk nullifying cuff for them both, and they put them on Slice and Chimera, and had them, Slice and Chimera, to the police. After hero work recommendations, All Might approaches Katsuki and says, "Young Katsuki, after what you did during your hero work recommendations, I am proud to say, will you be my successor?" "Me? But I didn't do anything during the fights." Katsuki said, only for All Might to say, I'm not talking about the fights, I'm talking about what you did for these people before the fight. I've already choose you as my successor after you've changed after the sports festival. What you did yesterday being the peak of your change. So, Katsuki Bakugo, will you be my successor and unlock the power that comes with it? Yes. Each class will put on something on for the school's festival. What that'll be will be decided by each class themselves. The class eventually decided on a rock show. While trying to decide who gets what role, Katsuki offers up himself to play drums and then told the class he overheard some students talking bad about them, Class 1A, and says, "We shouldn't just do this for others, we should also do this for ourselves. Make us happy too. Heroes can't help if they can't help themselves." Everyone agrees with his point and decides to do it for their own satisfaction. The next day, Katsuki and All Might start Katsuki's workout routine to get All Might's power. All Might already explained how his quirk works. That could be transferred and showed Katsuki his true form, which involved lugging Drake on the beach, with permission from the teachers, of course. They, All Might and Katsuki, did this when Katsuki wasn't in class or and practicing for the performance. A week passes, and Mina says, "Izuku, you're fired from the dance team." Izuku is shocked, but Mina clarifies, "I'm just joking with you. What I meant to say was you're hired for the efforts team to move the Yuga ball using your enhanced strength that comes when you're transformed. Don't worry, you still get to dance." The day of the festival has arrived, and Izuku, at 7:50, rushes to buy the last things the class needs from the show, and after he buys it, he runs into Gentle, Criminal, and La Brava. Recognizing them, Izuku confronts them, "Do not do anything to UA." Izuku says, being aware the cover's been blown. Gentle asks La Brava to start recording. With no choice but to stop Gentle by himself, Deku activates, transforms into tiger stripes. Gentle informs La Brava that there's a change of plans, but no matter what, keep filming whatever happens. She obeys, puzzled that he intends to fight. With a flourishing movement, Gentle takes off his overcoat and hat and tells his listeners to bear witness to my dazzling ambitions. Although his plan has been altered, he still intends to infiltrate the UA. Gentle has the courtesy to pull an intro on himself for the camera, while Izuku is about to get ready to fight. Izuku uses Cloud at Gentle, but suddenly an elastic sheet stops the blast. Gentle reveals that when he removed his disguise, he activated his quirk, Elasticity, which allows him to give elastic properties to everything he touches, and that includes the air itself. Gentle uses Gently Rebound, which repels Cloud, knocking Tiger Stripes backwards. Gentle says, "I don't like using violence to solve my problems." La Brava comments that, "Your attack has been quite violent," to which Gentle surmises that this boy possesses considerable power despite his appearance, making my elasticity do so. Gentle and La Brava run away as Izuku recovers and chases after them. Gentle uses his quirk on the ground to make it elastic, bouncing Izuku high into the air with Gently Trampoline. As Miraculous Deku, as he detransformed, recovers from Gentle's attack in midair, he recalls everything that's riding on the school festival. He remembers Eri looking forward to Deku's work at the festival, nearly pulling a complete smile. He also recalls a conversation he had with Kyokujiro when she showed Izuku all the advice she wrote to all the members in her notebook, proving that she is putting in her all for the school festival. Back in the present, Izuku transforms into monkey madness, and with his miraculous enhanced strength hits what Uproar created, a stuffed crocodile toy, with his bow staff, and hit what Uproar manifested, hitting Gentle in the back. Causes him to not only lose his power, but crash on the ground at high speeds. Izuku goes to Gentle and hold him down. That's when La Brava says, "I love you," activating her quirk, Love, which gives him strength to fight back against the hold down. Noticing this, Izuku turns into Moon Rabbit, deactivating the effect that Uproar had on Gentle. Gentle immediately created 3 air elastic over his back, bouncing Moon Rabbit away. But in midair, Izuku uses Moon Rabbit's power, Polarity, to make Gentle super heavy. He made the ground under him, angled at Izuku, elastic and with the extra gravity. Shoot at Izuku like a rocket. Seeing Gentle coming, he transforms into Honeycomb, and tries to paralyze Gentle, who puts up an elastic wall at the last second. Gentle bounces backwards, right back into his previous position. Izuku tries to go in from the side, but Gentle creates an elastic air wall in his path. This was all part of Izuku's plan as he shoots at him at an angle, bouncing off the air wall Gentle created right then and there, and then bouncing off the one that's on Gentle's side. A bit far away from him, but still on his side, and then onto Gentle himself, who before he can do anything honeycomb strikes with venom, paralyzing Gentle. He then calls the police, who gets them, Gentle and La Brava, all without the school shutting down the festival. Gentle is told he can turn his life around. Izuku, Shoto, Katsuki, and Endeavor encounter Star Servant, a crazy old dude who can control glass with his quirk. Izuku transforms in a chariot and portals right up to him, then transforms into Monkey Madness and uses Uproar, which is a stuffed pillow, to get rid of Star Servant's quirk, making him fall to the ground. Luckily, Endeavor catches Star Servant before he hits the ground. The police arrest him, and that's when Hawks show up to give them all each a copy of a book called Meta Liberation War, giving Endeavor an unknown to everybody else, including Endeavor, a special version of the book. How was special? It contained a secret message in it that's been put there by Hawks himself via highlighting. Endeavor manages to unlock the secret message. Afterwards, he decides to work with all his work-study students. In his training room, he asks each of them, Izuku, Shoto, and Katsuki, what do you want to get out of this? To enter all of my powers. Izuku says, then Katsuki says, to get physically stronger, so I can unlock the power All Might says is inside me. That's when the three, Izuku, Shoto, and Endeavor, realize, Katsuki, are you All Might's successor? Izuku asked the obvious question, to which Katsuki answered, yes, don't go telling nobody about though. Okay, yes, they all said in unison. The next day, during a break, Endeavor tells Izuku that, for fetch, you shouldn't throw the ball directly at the object you want to question, but in an indirect way. Say I was pointing a gun at you, what would you do? I would throw the ball, and while your eyes are following it, I would charge at you, then take you out. If your eyes don't follow the ball, then I just have to wait for it to hit the gun like I planned for it to. Endeavor couldn't help but laugh with pride at Izuku's plan. Creating a situation where you win either way is the mark of a true hero. Izuku couldn't help but smile with pride from that statement and said, thank you. In response, a week since the internships has passed, and Fuyumi, his daughter, telling him to bring Shoto, Izuku, and Katsuki to tomorrow's dinner, but at the dinner Natsuo, his second eldest son, tells Endeavor that I don't forgive you, I can't. I'm not kind like Shoto, and then leaves only to get tangled up in the lines of villain known as Ending. While on the road in a car, Endeavor tells them, Izuku, Shoto, and Katsuki, who are also in the car, that alongside weekends you'll be working at least 2 days during the school week. Izuku thinks about how they also have to prepare for finals, asking Shoto to, can you help me with my English? Just then, the car is attacked by the White Lines, controlled by Ending, as everyone notices Natsuo covered up by them swinging in the air. As the car crashes, Endeavor blasts out of it and confronts the villain. Ending asks if, do you remember me? Which Endeavor says yes, causing Ending to gleefully react. Ending says, I've always respected you, Endeavor, for having things I would never have and that I desires for you to kill me. I know that heroes aren't supposed to kill at all. However, you killed the Nomu, and that I considers me to be the same as it. So, you should just burn me with ease. Katsuki, Shoto, and Izuku bust their way out of the car as Untenru, the car driver, sends out their hero equipment, which Izuku throws to his classmates. Ending sends his White Lines to distract the three, but they are easily able to deal with them, thanks to thinking about Endeavor's lessons, with Izuku as Retriever using Fetch to give him one of the lines which Shoto then burns. Irritated by their appearance, Ending starts to back away, leading Endeavor to try and give chase. However, seeing Natsuo's scared face causes him to stop and hesitate, unsure of what to do. The trainees run ahead of him, with Shoto storing up his power, ready to attack Ending. In response, he uses his White Lines to pick up nearby cars with people inside, throwing them into the air, while simultaneously putting Natsuo in front of a moving train. Katsuki uses his power to blast fast enough to grab and save Natsuo, while Izuku as Ramhead creates a giant air mat for the cars to safely land on, which they do. Shoto attacks, ending with a fiery punch, trapping him in ice, while the civilians thank Izuku for saving them. All the while, Endeavor looks on amazed at how fast the students have grown in just 1 week. Endeavor runs up to Katsuki and Natsuo, hugging them both, before Katsuki breaks free. After confirming Ending is secured and the civilians are saved, after Natsuo breaks free as well, Endeavor apologizes to him, believing, "I was scared that if I rescued you, you wouldn't speak to me ever again. I never intended on shunning them, but ran away from the responsibility. I might as well have killed Toya." Natsuo fires back that, "I have no intention of ever forgiving you, since I'm not kind like Shoto." While Endeavor points out that you still continue to show up for Fuyumi and Rei's sakes, and making an effort to help Fuyumi bring back a sense of family. "See, you are kind, and that it's okay if you don't forgive me, since I just wanted tone." Once back to the school, all the students show off how they learned with robots, with Izuku showing off his new fetch move, throwing at his target indirectly, and then fetched it to where he was, which was in the air, and let gravity do the rest for the poor robot who crashed into the ground. A group known as Human Rise sets up a bomb that causes people with quirks to die. The heroes are dispatched to find Human Rise before they can do it again, but find all their locations empty. That's when Izuku makes a portal leading to where they, Human Rise, are currently at, and all the heroes go there. Once there, they cannot turn off the machine without an off SWCH. So Izuku as Pig Party creates what is Endeavor's most wanted possession, which creates a kill SWCH. Then Endeavor deals with Fleck turn and eventually breaks through his barrier, allowing them to use the kill SWCH to turn off the machine, which they do. While the raid on the Meta Federation goes on, Izuku is evacuating everyone with Katsuki, who's recently been given one for all. When they see everything being disintegrated, when the wave comes close to them, Izuku turns into tiger stripes and uses Cloud on it. But it does little to stop the wave, then Shoto freezes it, but the wave goes right through. Luckily, it stopped before reaching the evacuation effort. That's when Burnin says over the intercom, he's looking for what? What's one for all? Katsuki overhears this all and leaves to protect the others from Tamura, who could hurt them during his attempts to take one for all, with Izuku following him. "What are you doing?" Katsuki asked Izuku, only for him to answer, "Following you. This one for all business has something to do with you. Don't lie to me. I saw the look in your eye when Burnin said it over the radio. So if you would kindly tell me, what's going on?" Katsuki couldn't help but smile at that and said, "Fine, but you have to promise not to tell anyone. All Might gave me his quirk, which is transferable. It's a strength stockpiling quirk that gotten stronger each time it's been transferred, which has now been 9 times. Wait, are you saying that All Might had a quirk that he could transfer when he said, I couldn't be a hero?" Izuku said, only for Katsuki to say yep. And not only that, since he never shown another quirk, that means he was quirkless before getting it. Wasn't he? Izuku said, only for Katsuki to say that would imply that, wouldn't it? Why that son of a... Before Izuku could finish that sentence, Tamura showed up and tried to take one for all, but was stopped by Gran Torino grabbing Izuku and Katsuki and getting them, Gran Torino, Izuku, and Katsuki, out of there. And Gran Torino then said, "When I heard one for all on the intercom, I immediately came to you, Katsuki, or should I call you by your hero name? Ignite. Do you know how foolish that was, taking on Tamura by yourselves after you just got one for all? Especially since he's got all for one's quirk, and you Miraculous Deku. You better keep this all a secret, do you understand?" "Yes, sir." "Wait, if Tamura is after Katsuki for one for all, then shouldn't we get him out of here? I can teleport him to the dorms." Izuku said, then detransformed and feed roar, only for Gran Torino to say no. We should keep him here contented, instead of out in the world. Can you imagine what would happen if Tamura got one for all? It would be the worst thing to happen. Now stay here, while I'll go back into battle. They're targeting Eraserhead. Gran Torino then went flying to the battle, but he was going to be too late. Just as Tamura about to attack Izuku as Tiger Stripes attacks with Cloud, sending Tamura backwards. Izuku, what are you? Aizawa asked, only for Izuku to answer, the worst scenario I could think of is them taking out Eraserhead. He then held Tamura in place with his bolus while Ignite blast Tamura with Ignite's AP machine gun attack. What were those, fireworks? Tamura said, then he went after Ignite while saying little brother. To his own shock, that's when Endeavor attacks with Hell's Spider, but Tamura dodges. That's when Gran Torino tackles Tamura, who simply blasts out of Gran Torino's and Endeavor's way and goes after Ignite, but Izuku turns into Dragon Fu and says, Lightning Dragon, and shocks Tamura. That's when Endeavor blasts Tamura with a massive Vanishing Fist attack, but Tamura survives the assault. That's when Endeavor says, it's time to give up now, so I suggest you come in quietly. Heroes hurt their families to save strangers. Thanks to heroes being in this world, I was rejected. Now I reject all of you. Tamura says. Endeavor responds with a fire blast while thanking Tamura for the breather. But Tamura survives that and jumps out of the way of it, only to get slammed back into the ground by Gran Torino, but Tamura grabs Gran Torino's leg when he tries to leave, crushing it and slamming him into the ground. Then Tamura punches Gran Torino straight through the chest. Miraculous Deku transforms into Monkey Madness and attempts to use the rope he has for a tail to restrain Tamura, but he is too fast and goes for Eraserhead, but Ryukyu stops Tamura, who uses his super strength to dig a hole through her wing, but that when Monkey Madness appears and uses his tail as a rope to restrain Tamura, but he manages to get his hand through the hole he made in Ryukyu's wing and is planning to hit Eraserhead with a Quirk erasing bullet. Ryukyu recognizes the bullet and says, that's a Quirk destroying bullet. Monkey Madness uses his miraculous enhanced strength to hit Tamura in hopes of stopping him and calls for Uproar, which is a stuffed panda. But the punch is for naught as Tamura manages to throw the Quirk destroying bullet and hit Aizawa. Aizawa cuts off his leg, where he was hit, so he gets to keep his Quirk. Tamura then releases a shock wave that releases him from Izuku's grasp and goes right for Aizawa despite being held by Izuku's rope and slices Aizawa's face. But before Tamura can do more damage, he is suddenly attacked by Shoto's heaven-piercing ice wall attack. That's when Katsuki then used One for All to hit Tamura in the gut, sending him flying backwards. That's when Izuku attempted to hit Tamura with a panda toy, but Tamura blocks with a shield Quirk, and that's when Tamura tries to decay the ground and everything connecting it, including our heroes. But Katsuki, despite having a broken arm, was having none of that and punched Tamura into the air. Katsuki then grabbed Izuku's tail/rope and tied it around Tamura, so he could yo-yo him to Katsuki and punch him into the air. Repeat. After a couple of times of doing this, Endeavor got to where they are and unleashes a plus ultra prominence burn. While in the middle of being burned, Tamura hears the vestige of his MSTR, All for One, who takes control of Tamura's body and uses a quirk that lets him control other people's quirks, Rivet Stabs, to turn off Endeavor's flames, and then sets that same quirk onto Katsuki only for a de-transformed Izuku to get in the way at the last second and got stabbed for it. Katsuki, enraged, destroys the Rivet Stabs, first with his fist, then with his teeth, but All for One grabs Katsuki with the intent of taking his quirk. But that's when Izuku transforms into Cluck Chuck and uses New Dawn to rescue Katsuki before that can happen. Meanwhile, All for One convinces Tamura to evacuate. That's when Gigantomachia arrives. Dabi announced he was Toya, and a video played where he revealed to the world Endeavor's and Hawk's sins. Dabi is about to attack with Prominence Burn when he and all the villains are tied with carbon fibers by Best Jeanist. Spinner tries to walk Tamura up by biting his head and saying, what about the destruction you were talking about? What about that? Then Nighteye arrives and attempts to attack Tamura, but is attacked herself by Dabi and falls to the ground, where she is caught by Ingenium as Dabi breaks free of the carbon fibers, while Katsuki tries to make himself move despite his injuries he sustained due to using One for All. Tamura regains conscience and gives Gigantomachia an order, destroy. Meanwhile, 4 of the high-end Nomus go towards where Tamura is. Before the Nomu attack, Lemillion appears and dispatches them with his quirk. Realizing he can't take out a Nomu with a single punch, Lemillion cries out for help. That's when Miraculous Deku, who feed his kwamis he used so far, as Tiger Stripes comes in and uses Cloud on the Nomus, taking them out in one punch. With him taking care of, Izuku goes after Dabi, and as Moon Rabbit uses Polarity on Dabi to make him super heavy, which gets him to stop attacking. "Why are you interfering with this fight?" Dabi said, only for Izuku to say, "Because Shoto is my friend and Endeavor is my mentor. The past may not disappear, but that's why I'm looking at Endeavor now for who he is, a man fixing his mistakes." This gets Endeavor to snap out of the trance he was in and knock out Gigantomachia. Then Best Jeanist attempts to use Blackout Bind to chalk out the League. That when Mr. Compress compresses some of his body in order to escape, he then compresses Tamura, Dabi, and Spinner, and then releases Spinner and Tamura, and gives Spinner Dabi's ball. All for One in control of Tamura body order the high-end Nomus to them, and with them, they, Tamura, Spinner, and Dabi still in a ball. Escape. Katsuki, despite being injured from using One for All, explodes himself forward toward the escaping villain, but is forced back by All for One in Tamura's body, using a shield quirk. Thank you for joining us on this journey through What If Deku Became Butterfly Miraculous? We hope you found it as captivating as we did. A big thank you to funnysafannow for creating such an engaging story. Don't forget to visit their profile on fanfiction.net for more fantastic works. The link is in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Zenin Fanfics for more intriguing explorations into fanfiction and fantasy. Your support helps us create more content like this, and we love hearing your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section. See you soon in the next video.